Anyway, we're gonna do tariff wars and stuff, but I've talked about them quite a bit. But before we do that, let's cover the Donny O'Sullivan piece from CNN. Donny O'Sullivan showed up on the broadcast. Hey, Themasius, thank you for the playlist. Donny O'Sullivan showed up at the Hasanabi compound and got brolic as heck. Okay. We're gonna be looking at the article / story. It's gonna be running on TV.
Donny O'Sullivan
is gonna be running on TV as well, which is very exciting. Okay, but let's take a look. Let's take a look at what happened.
This is Hasan Piker.
This is my dog Kaya. I thought you legitimately were gonna work out.
I could do some weights.
He's a social media superstar with almost 3 million followers on the video streaming platform Twitch.
They're eating the pets.
So this is that whole masculinity thing people are talking about, huh?
And he's part of a growing group of streamers and podcasters reaching young men online, a space Trump tapped into to reach young male voters.
Punch in, then you won't be able to see that he's not doing any weights.
But Hasan is not a Trump supporter. He's a progressive, a fan of Bernie and AOC. The Democratic Party even invited him to the DNC in August.
One thing we've been hearing for weeks now is that the left needs a Joe Rogan.
Yeah. I don't think that the Democratic Party can podcast itself out of this issue. Joe Rogan, he endorsed Bernie Sanders in 2020. Maybe they should do an autopsy on why he left the party. I like to work out. I'm very bro-y. A lot of people look at the optics of that and they don't like it. They think like, oh, well, he's a little toxic, isn't he? And they don't really listen to what I have to say because I'm significantly more progressive than the average Democratic campaign.
Yeah, I've heard you say when it comes to stuff that guys like, you seek that stuff out online, whether it's watching a streamer, whether it's watching guys talking about working out and fitness. You say that the right wing just dominates that space.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I think that's why I started on Twitch, right? I know for a fact that the video game space is like people who consume this culture, people who are a part of this culture are not all right wing. I wanted to showcase to people that like, no, you can be a progressive person, you can be a leftist and like have fun at the same time.
How many people were watching your live stream on election night?
The total unique number was 7.5 million.
There's a general sense that when it comes to the world of podcasts, alternative media, I don't even know what you want to call it, that Trump did a much better job at that than Democrats and Harris.
Absolutely. I think that's true. I was a naysayer early. When I saw the Aiden Ross collab, I thought this doesn't have motion.
So this is Trump with Aiden
Ross. When Trump went on Aiden Ross's stream, I was like, it was awkward, it was weird. But then I saw Trump on Theo Vaughn, and he started talking about cocaine. And I was like, uh-oh, this humanizes him.
Cocaine is stronger up?
Yeah. Cocaine
so you're way up with cocaine more than anything else you can think of.
Cocaine will turn you into a damn owl, homie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Harris did consider going on Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
But she didn't.
So that was a mistake as well, I think, because Joe Rogan can't deliver adversarial interviews if his life depended on it.
What is it that the Democrat Party has to do differently?
Well, I think that they need to change their policies.
It's a policy thing.
Yes, it's 100% a policy thing.
Because I'll say,
which is the boring answer. Although it would be very self-serving for me to say, I'm the left's Joe Rogan, the Democratic Party should give me millions of dollars. That's not going to solve this problem. What will solve this problem is if the Democratic Party actually adopts real left-wing economic populist messaging instead of purposefully avoiding that stuff because they're terrified of upsetting their corporate donors. I think Trump speaks to male insecurities better, and I think Trump speaks to the anger that people have, whereas the other side of the political spectrum does not speak to that anger at all.
There's been a lot of controversy around you.
Yes.
The way you talk about Israel is viewed by some as anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
Are you anti-Semitic?
Of course not. The real problem here is that I'm an anti-Zionist. The real problem here is that I'm extremely critical of Israel and all of the information that's readily available, especially on social media for so many people that don't necessarily rely on mainstream media any longer to get their information. And that's why you see this generational gap. If you're over the age of 35, you're still operating on the old boundaries. You're like, no, Israel's the most moral democracy in the Middle East, maybe in the world, right? Like, and I think that the major generational divide that is, I think, in a very damaging way, feeding into the mistrust overall that people have with mainstream news in general is coming from that.
Tonight, the president.
That's it. So we did a much longer interview, and I believe that Donnie's trying to get it longer. Too short. I'm sure that everybody could learn a lot from Hasan about the alt media landscape and his policies when he's engaged in a longer, deeper discussion with someone like you without the exaggeration for effect stuff. Would love to get a longer version posted. I'll talk to my colleagues, he said. But I think that there's more on that front. I mean, we talked for like an hour and a half. We talked for an hour and a half, but like obviously CNN has time constraints. They make this like pre-produced stuff, and then they try to slot it in. But I think they did a decent job of like to the best of their ability, just posting some of the best parts of it, I guess. But it's actually going to be on, wait, what is this? Front page CNN.com. Check more top stories. What do you mean? Where is it, like here somewhere on the CNN.com main page? But yeah, frustrating to be censored, but your words carry so much weight because you're educated. No, I'm not frustrated by this at all. Guys, any kind of, you're crazy. Any kind of like positive coverage of me on CNN is something that I never would have expected. And I will never take that for granted. I will always be appreciative. It's not censorship. They're just cutting it for time constraints. Okay. What do you mean more time? I don't know where. Click more. I am. Where is the more? It's on the left in text. Oh, more top stories. Oh, here it is. Progressive social media star says Trump interview made him say, uh-oh. JJC1299. Thank you for the 5 tier 1 gifted subs. It will also be on probably one of these like CNN news. It'll probably be on like prime time as well later in the day. And then Donnie usually comes on and he'll speak about the experience and stuff like that. So that's very exciting. Complex just posted you on top 25 streamers. The 25 best streamers now ranked. Hey, yo, I made it to the list. Let's go. Is live streaming harder than a traditional job? I love that they've completely moved away from me on this. Shouts out to Lacey. Honestly, Lacey, I already phased the fuck up, but you saved my life, big dog. Okay, you saved my life. People used to clip me that clip out of context of me talking about like, my social battery running out and like and constantly ripping into me about this claim that I said that like streaming is way harder than a 9 to 5 when I don't believe that. Obviously, I have the opportunity to go back to a 9 to 5 if I wanted to. I don't. But I'm so glad that Lacey tanked that shit for me. People gave me so much shit for it, but then now it's like people are remembering it as like something that Lacey said. So I love you, Lacey. You're my goat. I owe you one. Okay, W nephew. Lacey is also in the nephew category for this. Didn't Duke say the same thing and everyone agreed? Twitter motherfuckers are so fake. Yeah, but you don't understand. He said it with Riz, okay? So you for Lacey saying that. Streaming certainly isn't easy. Yeah, you can work out of sweats in the comfort of your home, but being on camera for hours on end and exposing yourself to an endless comment stream can't be great for your mental health. You're constantly going to conjure up viral moments and chase subscribers and can't clock out in the middle of a subathon. That's right. I'm also constantly farming subscribers. Subscribe. Ladies and gentlemen, subscribe. Fartic L'accelerator, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. You can subscribe for $5 or $6 or for free with a Twitch Prime, or you can get gifted a sub as well if you're lucky. But dude, this is irrelevant, but I just want to say thank you for sticking to your guns on this platform. Less than a year ago, I was in a pretty reactionary TikTok red pill space, and I feel like a young Muslim man seeing you specifically make good points in a really passionate way made me rethink my mindset and has helped me get into a much better headspace. That's what I'm talking about, baby. That's why we do it. You clip farm Lacey. But yeah, respect to Lacey for tanking all that. However, if you can handle the pressure, the ceiling for a popular streamer keeps getting raised. From attracting the eyes of millions of fans, signing deals worth millions of dollars, to being a live stream content creator, whether that's on Instagram, Kick, Rumble, Twitch, TikTok, YouTube. Gen Alpha's A-list stars, according to 2019 survey by Lego and Harris Polls, 1 out of every 3 kids between age and 12 wanted to be a vlogger or YouTuber. But while every kid may want to be a streamer, not every kid will be a great streamer. With the thousands of streamers online, what separates the all right from the all might? What actually makes a streamer one of the best? We pondered these questions thoroughly when putting this list together and came up with the following criteria. 1, influence of their social media presence. 2, frequency we see them on timelines. 3, the quality of their content. 4, their relevance to the world of live streaming. This helped us cut through the noise and decide on the best of the best. What? PewDiePie? Does he even stream? That's crazy. And we started the list with a person who doesn't even stream no more. Age 12, PewDiePie had his fair share of controversy. Ninja. Oh, this is all time? Is this like all time greats? Not 2025. No, it's 25 best streams ranked now. Wait, that doesn't make sense. Ninja. Hey, yo, Valkyrie. Followers subscribe crowd 4 million. Valkyrie got a start nearly a decade ago, but it took a few years to release a certain online gaming phenomenon. That one game, oh yeah, Fortnite, to have her big breakout. Popular gaming organization. She's now co-owner of Boss Biz Shit. Like many streamers, Valkyrie started on Twitch, but she made a move to YouTube when they offered an exclusive contract. Her following grew even bigger as she and other streamers passed time during the COVID. Oh my God. Look who it is. Nick Pollum. That's crazy. It's been over a decade since NMP Law started posting YouTube videos on games ranging from Minecraft and Hearthstone to CSGO. Despite rapidly accumulating 200,000 subscribers, over 50 million views on YouTube, it wasn't until 2016 that he began streaming on Twitch. In 2017, Nick Pollum took things full-time, getting popularity for his WoW streams. Today, NMP Law is a variety streamer, best known for... Okay, no, he's not. He's best known for parasocial girl content, okay? And also watching music videos with his friend, Hasanabi Piker, okay? Alongside streamers like Hasanabi, Nora Explorer, and more, NMP Law chefs things up in the kitchen, takes you around ride-alongs with his car. Yeah, he's the clueless rom-com male lead, okay? That's what he is. He's best known for creating live dating sim content. Exactly. And also loving feet. He bridges the gap between companionship and surveillance. The chat puts you in the car with NMP Law and his friends, listening and engaging like one might if they sat in the back seat next to Mr. Arthur. It's that thin, often absent fourth wall that landed him both a spot on this list and with fellow creator in Hot Water earlier this year at TwitchCon. While streaming with Wake Wilder, NMP Law was kissed and licked by a Kick streamer without his consent, prompting NMP Law to tweet, "Don't ever do shit like that, please. Talk to somebody or just stay inside if you can't behave." Jinxie at number 21. Abel Ronaldo. Oh, shit. Young Guns, dude. This is the new meta. This is like some in the old guard. Nick Pollum, Valkyrie, Ninja, PewDiePie, the oldest guard. And then you got the new streamers on the block. Jinxie, one of the top content creators on the platform now. Well-deserved. Stable Ronaldo, okay, went from zero to hero, got falsely smeared by Ninja on the list, and now he's above Ninja on this list, okay? I like that. Cutie Cinderella, goddamn. Cutie Cinderella is a force in the live streaming world, but she won't let you call her that. The Washington-born content creator would rather call attention to everyone else's influence and achievements in an attempt to downplay her own. This endears her to her audience and humanizes her so many. While she is largely known for creating the Streamer Awards, her event planning goes much further than her much-anticipated award show. Among the hits, Shit Camp, a 5-day summer camp in which popular creators live stream various activities that emphasize teamwork and bonding. Master Baker. And we can't forget her appearance on podcasts like Whine About It and Fear Ann, which give her a different platform to be totally herself, chill, soothing, and wise. Okay, I don't know about that. Maybe on Whine About It. Probably not on Fear Ann, though. She ain't never chill nor wise on Fear Ann. You know what I'm saying? The theme of all of our efforts revolves around working together, being yourself, and building relationships, something so desperately needed in the internet during these trying times. They didn't even talk about how she's fucking bronze. Oh, they did. When she does stream, chances are it will be a League of Legends match. Okay, this is journalistic irresponsibility, okay? This is called lying by omission, okay? Omitting key details such as the fact that she is still perma-stuck at bronze, honestly, is you know, you might as well be doing a disservice. You might as well be lying to the American public, okay? Begging or an IRL stream of her at Disneyland, you will always get authenticity with Cutie Cinderella, be it via her open dialogue or mental health struggles or her process when preparing for her events. Ludwig, number 18. It's impossible to watch any streamer or live streamer today and not identify it, at least some of Ludwig's influence. Born in New Hampshire, based in California, Ludwig is the ultimate innovative content creator with a zest. Yeah, he is zesty, all right. For creativity that entertains his community, known affectionately as Ludbuds, and pushes the boundaries of the streaming space. The way he captures your attention isn't through blunt force or loud noises, or rather his charm and charisma, and also his capacity to steal other people's ideas and repackage it as his own in a method that he created called, what was it? Twist and turn? I'm Dante, saved your ass and started
Tell me what
rage
job
baiting.
is harder.
Oh yeah, this was another goated moment. All of these guys I owe my life to. Okay, they really tanked all the damage for me. Yoink and Twist. Ludwig streaming career highlights includes the multiple moments where he was the catalyst behind different live streaming trends. The first big advertised subathon, breaking the previous record for the most concurrent subscribers on Twitch, set by Tyler Ninja Blevins, later broken by Hasan during his Mafiathon 2 this year, creating multiple shows such as Mogul Money that featured fellow content creators, and his move to YouTube gaming. Beyond streaming, though, he's branching into more off-screen roles, co-finding the creative agency Off-Brand, establishing a game company, Off-Brand Games, co-owning the esports team Moist Esports, recording his popular The Yard podcast, and launching a bidet product line, which, who doesn't love a bidet? It would be unfair to limit Ludwig's title to merely a live streamer, as his influence is felt everywhere. At the end of the day, the stocks are up for the fellow Ludbuds, so be sure to tune in to a broadcast or two before he calls it quits and starts his bakery. Amaranth is number 17. I'm Dante, number 16. Iron Mouse, number 15. Nice. Sketch, another newcomer on the block, also fantastic. Bruce Drop, that's unexpected. Okay, that's cool. His laid-back style has cultivated an intimate relationship with his fans. All right. I mean, it's cool. I no hate. I hope he's doing all right. You know, wherever he is at in his mental space in the universe. Number 12 is DJ Academics. That's crazy. They're like, Ox seems obsessed with glorifying the underbelly of rap, and we shouldn't forget that he's currently facing a sexual misconduct lawsuit. That's a wild way to write this article. Agent, well deserved at the 11th slot. Number 10, another phase member, Plague Boy Max. Never forget I beat him in basketball. Just a fun little reminder. I'll always have that. I'm probably never going to play him again, honestly, because he'll cook me in a 1v1. Nephew's on here too. Jason the Ween. God damn. I mean, I love this list. This list is dope. Damn, they did Jason dirty. I know they could have showed a way better photo than this one, but hey, it is what it is, you know? You're like a foot taller than Max, bro. Yeah, have you seen his handles though? Are you kidding me? He's fast as fuck. And he's really good. I think 1v1, depending on which way, you know, depending on how well I can shoot, I think Max could cook me potentially. Jason Lee's quickly risen from one of the most. Wait, let's see what they wrote for Max. Plague Max became popular on Twitch. The wild card creator, live streaming loosely about cultural relationships. Ironically, people take him seriously because he doesn't take anything too seriously. He often posts videos of his reactions to interactions with fans that talks pretty flippantly about flings with women, like his highly watched October 2024 live stream re-uploaded to his YouTube channel about how he almost died messing with a Latina baddie. 21-year-old live streamer has 1.2 million followers on Twitch. Jason, you might recognize him from TikTok, where he started posting in 2021 and quickly garnered hundreds of thousands, then millions of views for his comedy sketches. Yeah, his comedy sketches, which is meowing on Valorant E-dates. That's funny. Hold on. Where he live streamed games like Valorant to an audience of about 100 viewers. Hey, success doesn't happen overnight. His charismatic personality and gaming prowess popularized him on Twitch again. On YouTube, where he started uploading clips on 2022, 2024, respectively. He also dipped into music, releasing 10 songs and clocking over 58,000 monthly Spotify listeners with his dreamy bedroom pop ballads. It seems the internet simply can't get enough of him, no matter the platform. Why do you call Jason nephew? Because he's my nephew, dude. I'm Unc, and he's my nephew. That's why I call him nephew. That's W nephew. I like all the FaZe guys. You know this already, especially the new FaZe clan. Talent is fantastic. They've done a pretty good job of just like, you know, making content that's fun, funny, and goes viral, that is not meant to be taken super seriously, while also simultaneously they're not like weird and gross and toxic, you know what I mean? Even like Ronaldo and Lacey, who sometimes will say like edgy shit, like they ultimately, even when they sometimes say like edgy stuff, they ultimately are very their heart is in the right place. XQC has courted controversy by shading people who gamble, only then to become a gambler and stream about it himself, and losing over $100 million in the process. He's also in a controversial legal. Oh my God, they cooked his ass. Number 7, Phantom. Goddamn. Number 6, Pokimane. Oh, what is that? Sheesh. They put me at number 5. That's crazy. They put me in the top 5. Glaze. Oh my God. The photo is not the best, but what are you going to do? Hey, what are you going to do? I look like a cult leader. Don't go to top 3 if you want to keep your lunch in place. Wait, why? Duke, Aiden. Well, Kai Cenat deserves it, and iShowSpeed also deserves it. So what the fuck? Hey, okay, I'll take it. I'll take it. If you're looking for goated political commentary on Twitch, then look no further than the debate lord himself, Hasanabi Piker. The Turkish-American creator who currently lives in California wasn't always a streamer. He previously worked at the progressive news show The Young Turks and making videos around leftist politics for a younger audience. After creating his own show at the news show in 2016, Piker began streaming on Twitch 2 years later while still at TYT, eventually leaving to take streaming full-time. Since then, Piker has become a recognizable name in both leftist political spaces and the general live streaming constellation. But it isn't necessarily his background that makes Piker a great streamer. He's hot, but sure. But he's also funny, honest, smart, and warm. He's knowledgeable about politics historically and holistically, and he can break down complex political topics in a digestible yet entertaining fashion. On top of that, Piker's politics and values make him someone who fosters a rather inclusive chat that makes marginalized viewers feel welcome. Plus, he isn't some boring old millennial. He games hard and has done streams with other creators like Pokemon Valkyrie, as well as political figures such as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Ilhan Omar. All of this makes Piker something of an elder brother to his chat, someone folks look up to and aspire to be, which makes sense considering the Abi in his name is Turkish for elder brother. Nailed it. I'll take it. Number 4 is Duke Dennis. Makes sense. Makes sense that Duke would beat me here as well, you know. Where hasn't this guy defeated me in the marketplace of ideas? Having served the U.S. military from 2013 to 2017, Dennis began his YouTube career and his military career was ending. Number 3 is Aiden Ross. Sure, he's controversial, and yes, he talks out of his ass, but Ross is also a 20-something trying to do better for himself in a very public way. That takes courage. That's crazy. I would say these words about iShowSpeed. I would not probably say that about Aiden Ross, who has cultivated one of the most toxic, mass harassing, doxing communities online with like the absolute worst fucking politics ever. But maybe one day he will change. Everyone has the capacity to change. So does Aiden Ross, I'll admit. But that day has not come thus far. Older brother. Yes, Abi means older brother. No, it just means older brother, not elder brother. It means older brother. Yeah, no mention of Andrew Tate. Posts about his struggles, either mental or physical, and his vows to get back on track. He often acknowledges not only his chat, but his fans across the internet, frequently thanking them for sticking around, and he's become increasingly purposeful with how he wields his audience, often encouraging his chat to be better themselves and to each other. That's a wild way to say it. Older sister means Abla. Number 2 is Kai Cenat, obviously well-deserved in the title. And my personal favorite, iShowSpeed. I fucking love Speed, man. I really do. I think he's so awesome. I think iShowSpeed is a generational streamer. So is Kai, for sure. And it's not even like a comparison between one or the other. They both do fantastic work, and it's amazing to have them at the top of the game. And I really appreciate what they do in general for the space, and what they do in terms of like entertainment. It is always shocking to remember how young they are, especially Speed. And I think that especially for both of these guys, really, both for Kai Cenat and iShowSpeed, okay, let me tell you something. Both of these guys could have gone down like very different paths, okay? They could have gone down very different paths. The circles that they were around and everything else, really, like they could have become very different versions of themselves, I think. And instead they are just like very good. They like even when they got that Rumble deal, that was fucking awesome. Like they went and they packaged themselves to get a Rumble deal. They got the bag and they basically streamed like once on Rumble and got an insane amount of money and then never did it again. And it's obvious that like, it's obvious that they both have the correct mindset for this space. Naisha unintentionally gassed you up on his IG story yesterday where he posted the top 10 active Twitch streamers with you at number 2. Wait, really? Sick. Yes, I already watched the CNN video. But yeah. Speaking of rankings, remind chat to vote. It's the last day of voting. Okay. Guys, it's the last day to vote for Streamer Awards. If, like I said, if you vote for me for Just Chatting Streamer, you get a Tasteful Nude. I'm probably not going to win this year. Let's be real. This year has been a tremendous number of different controversies. And normally I get a lot of support from all these other active communities as well, from other content creators, but I don't think I'm going to get that this year. So we're on our own in a very tough very, very heavily dominated, stacked field. And so you're up against Kai. Yeah, Kai is probably not going to show up to the streamer awards, win the fucking full sweep, and that's probably what's going to happen again. As a Dutch chatter, thank you so much for taking me out of a dark place I was in 2 years ago. I used to be a standard Marxist, but now after watching the stream every day for years, I personally want to suck G from behind. Wow, now you're a socialist. You're a promoter of socialism with Chinese characteristics. You barely promoted it. Yeah, I don't feel like I should promote it every fucking day. I mean, big streamers don't do that normally. And if I lose, then I lose. You know, it is what it is. Oh, by the way, came to our country, Morocco, last week. Oh, G did? Just checked his IG, Nate Shot's IG. It was top 5. What is this? Let's see. What did he post? It's not, his stories are not even. After returning to streaming just 10 months ago, Nate Shot is now a top 5 most sub streamer on Twitch. Oh, this is what they're talking about. I know you're not covering serious topic yet, but would you read a short thread on evidence against Bolsonaro? Pretty open and shut case. Why is Kai in so many categories? Because he dominates the field. What are you talking about? They are fast. Hasanabi reacts that I show speed ranking #1 on our streamer list. I fucking love speed. I really do. I do. It's true. They are fast as hell. Holy shit. Here, I'll give that a retweet. Fuck it. I like that the Complex Twitter account also has never not watching in their description. Yeah. Chat is like, why is Kai on everything? It's a fucking fan award. Like, fans vote for who they want to nominate. You do understand that considering that it's fan based, clearly it, you know, someone with 500,000 subscribers is probably going to have a massive impact. And it's not like it's not deserved. You know what I mean? If Kai is not in every category, that is because people are, you know, that is because people are most likely trying to ensure that there are some others that also get worthy praise and recognition. Okay, that's it. It's not deserved. Come on, dude. Come on. What are you saying is not deserved? Like, that's crazy. Like, dude, what are we talking about? Like, from a pure entertainment standpoint, y'all are insane. I mean, it's funny because, like, I assume on, like, in this community especially, you're like, well, he doesn't talk about anything worthwhile. It's like, yeah, because no one gives a shit about that. He's an entertainer, okay? The very fact that I can even reach the level of popularity that I have been able to reach without while still covering hardcore news and polarizing news subjects and offer political commentary is insane. It's not normal, okay? A lot of people don't recognize it. Y'all are being ridiculous. Like, nobody's asking you to fucking sit through every single Kai Cenat subathon, okay? But just be normal. Be normal, please. Kai Cenat has had a generational run, okay? He didn't use OBS. He made fucking sets for his subathons. It's actually next level for streaming. Yeah. Also, for people who are wondering, like, if they're shocked by this, like, there was that one, like, behind the scenes from the rapper Twitch streamer dude, DDG. He went to Kai's house for the subathon. And there's like a sneak peek into like the background. Yeah, DDG is his name, not DDG, not Destiny's Community. But yeah, he vlogged it, and it showed like a little peek behind. He had Chris Brown on and is homophobic from an entertainment standpoint, but I get it. But like, Sheltered Rosewood, I need you to understand something, okay? And I mean this in all sincerity. When you don't like someone, I promise you that means that they are popular for a good reason. Like, I cannot begin to explain to you how directly at odds you are with normal human beings on the planet, okay? Like, and many people in this community will also channel the similar frustrations that you're talking about, but that still doesn't change the reality, okay? Anyway, look at the background of this.
They're just gonna mic him real quick.
Like, this is the level of production. You know what my shit looks like. This is my shit, chat. This is it. That's my production, okay? My production is marginal. It's limited. It's got, and even then it's like crazy in comparison to, I don't know, the average, you know, what you would expect from a Twitch stream. But like, and then look at this, you know what I mean? Look at his shit, The only graphic you have on screen is your W banner, no overlays, no nothing. Yeah. Like, look at that. Look at the amount of cameras they have. And this is one part of the production team. Like, there's two different production rooms as well, probably even more. So just, you know, there's a reason why he's like popping off, you know? Yeah, he had Lizzo and Megan Thee Stallion, SZA on his broadcast. Like, he's crazy. I think about what Jerma said at the first Streamer Awards when he said, keep making great content and pushing forward. Yeah. Did you see Lizzo and Megan Thee Stallion on Kai's stream discussing his hygiene? Wait, Megan Thee Stallion? That's not Megan Thee Stallion, chatter. That's SZA. I don't even think he had Megan Thee Stallion on, actually. I think he had Glorilla on at some point. He did not. I don't even think he had Meg on. Hot girl shit. Embarrassing.
It's not that. It's just my toes are fucked up.
But that's his. Those are his.
They are his.
So you don't want foot on foot.
I don't mind foot on foot. He seems like a clean person.
Yeah. Well, he hasn't washed his balls in a long time.
Who said that? He said that? Is that true? Wait, what?
Well, he's been showering.
You seen him showering here?
He's been showering with the trunks on. That's what they said. They say he showers every day with the swim trunks.
Oh, that's my first question.
You need lots of equipment so you can hire lots of people. If you hire me, I'll make you bracelets. Thanks. Yeah. That's what really ups the ante for Kai Cenat's production is that he has a bracelet guy.
On stream. It's been 23 days.
No.
But maybe he's washing the bottom of his.
His meat's been dry for 23 days. I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
Yeah, because you.
Yeah, we confirmed the bracelets. We're good. Yes, we're going to talk about Israel's ceasefire. Israel's Security Cabinet has approved a U.S.-backed ceasefire deal with Lebanon. Prime Minister's office says 10 ministers voted for the deal while one opposed it. We're going to be talking about that in a brief moment. Actually, when are you inviting SZA on the broadcast? That's the funniest part about this is like, I have no motion, okay? People will sometimes have these ideas where they'll be like, dude, why don't you have this celebrity on the broadcast? And it's like, are you kidding me? You think I wouldn't love the opportunity to have SZA on the broadcast? Like, SZA is not coming on the broadcast, chatters, okay? She's not. That's not happening. And it's the same. Like, I got no motion whatsoever. I have some motion with people who are organically interested or invested in political commentary. And even then, they might be worried about coming on like a political stream because they don't want to get yelled at by their fan base. Because as everybody knows, Republicans buy Nikes as well. Okay? That is the reality. Also, you know, I don't even know if I want half the celebrities to be here on this broadcast, given how some members of the community fucking react to anyone that is like marginally different in their worldview than chatters. They just like treat them like they're fucking Adolf Hitler. There was unironically a person that turned around when I was talking about Kai Cenat. I didn't even read it, but someone in the chat literally said, well, Hitler was popular. That doesn't mean his ideas were good. Like, the moment that you're comparing a entertainment streamer like Kai Cenat to Adolf fucking Hitler is a moment that you need to log off instantly, okay? Take a shower, log off, check in to the nearest medical professional you can possibly find. You're a fucking freak, okay? That's far from the norm in this community. Obviously, I'm not saying that is representative of, like, a lot of the people in this community at all. SZA like one of your IG video posts? No, she liked the IG video post of me getting encountered by Harry Daniels. Anyway, we're moving on. I have a genuine belief that Kendrick at the very least knows about you. I mean, maybe. He is very online. Stop talking about it. Your haters will use it as a wedge between you and Kai. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I don't think Kai fucks with me at all, but it doesn't really change my dynamic. I don't give a shit if he doesn't like me at all. I'm always going to be fucking honest. Anyway, Brandon is supposed to be live talking about it. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel, Hezbollah. Oh, here it is. Let's talk. Let's tune into Brandon.
To bring a conflict between Israel and Hezbollah to a close. Under the deal reached today, effective at 4 a.m. tomorrow local time, the fighting across the Lebanese-Israeli border will end. Will end. This is designed to be a permanent cessation of hostilities. What is left of Hezbollah and other terrorist organizations will not be allowed, well, I emphasize, will not be allowed to threaten the security of Israel again. Over the next 60 days, the Lebanese army and state security forces will deploy and take control of their own territory once again. Hezbollah terrorist infrastructure in southern Lebanon will not be allowed to be rebuilt. And over the next 60 days, Israel will gradually withdraw its remaining forces. And civilians on both sides will soon be able to safely return to their communities and begin to rebuild their homes, their schools, their farms, their businesses, and their very lives. We're determined this conflict will not be just another cycle of violence. And so the United States, with the full support of France and our other allies, has pledged to work with Israel and Lebanon to ensure that this arrangement is fully implemented, the agreement totally implemented. You know, there will be no U.S. troops deployed in southern Lebanon. This is consistent with my commitment to the American people to not put U.S. troops in combat in this conflict. Instead, we, along with France and others, will provide the necessary assistance to make sure this deal is implemented fully.
It's so funny to be like, I'm proud to issue a ceasefire in Lebanon that I basically allowed to thrive by giving unlimited weapons to Israel that decided to also invade Lebanon.
Just like any country, when facing a terrorist
didn't do
group pledged to
shit.
that country's destruction. At the same time, this deal supports Lebanon's sovereignty. And so it heralds a new start for Lebanon, a country that I've seen most of over the years, a country with rich history and culture. If fully implemented, this deal can put Lebanon on a path toward a future that's worthy of its significant past. Just as the Lebanese people deserve a future of security and prosperity,
Brandon's
so
trying to save his
do
reputation.
the
He'll
people
never
of
save his
Gaza.
reputation.
They too deserve an end to the fighting and displacement. The people of Gaza have been through hell. Their world's absolutely shattered. Far too many civilians in Gaza have suffered far too much.
It's all because of
Hamas
Hamas.
refused for months and months to negotiate a good faith ceasefire and a hostage deal. And so now Hamas has a choice to make. Their only way out is to release the hostages, including American citizens, which they hold. In the process, bring an end to the fighting, which would make possible a surge of humanitarian relief. Over the coming days, the United States will make another push with Turkey, Egypt, Qatar, Israel, and others to achieve a ceasefire in Gaza. The hostages are released and the end of the war without Hamas in power, that becomes possible. As for the broader Middle East region, today's announcement brings us closer to realizing the affirmative agenda that I've been pushing forward during my entire presidency. A vision for the future of the Middle East where it's at peace and prosperous and integrated across borders. A future where Palestinians have a state of their own, one that fulfills its people's legitimate aspirations, one that cannot threaten Israel.
Why is it that he can broker
terrorist
this peace with Israel? Oh, it's because Hezbollah actually fucking made Israel suffer a tremendous amount of casualties in its invasion part of the process. Israel bombed Beirut into oblivion, as they do. And then when they brought in their ground troops, they got their shit pushed in over and over and over again. So much so that there was like talks of potential mutiny and unrest among the ranks. And of course, Israel was way more willing to broker a ceasefire in Lebanon than they were as a direct consequence of that. Okay. Once again, Israel showing the world, just like it did time and time again with Lebanon, specifically with Hezbollah throughout its evolution, throughout its history, that you know, they will only respond the force. Now, the other side of this process is that if they actually have succeeded in the ceasefire, that means that they have successfully decoupled Hezbollah from their ethnic cleansing in Gaza, right? And that is the other side of this process. And it's obvious that Joe Biden is not going to do shit about Gaza. Okay. The ceasefire will come into effect at 4 a.m. Israel's preparing for final strikes from Lebanon in preparation for the deadline. So we shall see what happens. 95 plus soldiers killed, plus 900 soldiers injured, 42 Merkava tanks destroyed, 4 military bulldozers destroyed. Yeah, the Hezbollah as a fighting force is very different than Hamas, understandably. Okay. It is functionally the standing military of Lebanon. Lebanon has a standing military with a security cooperation agreement with the United States and Western nations, but that has only been a limit to Lebanon's own sovereignty and its own protection. It's precisely the reason why they don't have like anti-aircraft weapons and shit like that. Because if they did, then they would be using American defenses, American anti-aircraft defenses against Israeli American fighter jets that Israel is utilizing. So that is what's going on here. Once again, this is the fourth time at this point, or third time at this point that Israel is pushed into Lebanon and then pushed out of Lebanon by force and has conceded. But then they'll say, "Oh, we got our mission across. We did it. We succeeded." What did you succeed? You killed a shit ton of Lebanese people. You blew up a shit ton of villages, and then that's it. Now, I do not know what happens next in this process, but in the final 48 hours before a ceasefire in 2006 war, Israel dropped internationally banned cluster munitions across South Lebanon. That still kill children who unwittingly stumble across them to this day. We've seen the scramble for a last-minute destruction on a ticking clock before. This is the updated version. IDF issues airstrike notices for central Beirut neighborhoods, including Hamra for the first time, far from the suburbs and rarely hit. Ironically, the fact that Israel is devastating Lebanon's capital today means ceasefire is likely imminent. Heavy bombardment in final hours, a common tactic. Roads jammed with civilians fleeing.
That Israel has the right to defend itself even after this ceasefire, and that at the same time the US supports Lebanon's sovereignty. We did hear from Prime Minister Netanyahu just a few hours ago before a full vote of the Israeli cabinet, saying that he recommended this ceasefire, but also saying that Israel has the right to open fire again on Hezbollah, even if, for example, it begins to build tunnels again. So Prime Minister Netanyahu, and I think you heard President Biden there too, trying to reassure a skeptical Israeli people that this will not lead to the return of Hezbollah in years to come. Prime Minister Netanyahu talked about that Hezbollah had been defeated for decades. But has it been fully defeated? No, it has not. Many of its leaders have been killed. Many people have been killed. Another question too, will those tens of thousands of Israelis in the north be able to return to their homes? There are many in those communities who think
over 100 prominent Jewish Georgians, including rabbis, board members of the ADL, and cultural leaders, signed on to a letter supporting Ossoff and Warnock's vote against some Israeli arms sales. It's time to stop treating Jews as a monolith. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Oh, wow. I am shocked. It turns out that a lot of these American Jewish institutions were speaking out of turn, not necessarily caring about their, Jewish constituents and their interests and their needs. How shocking. How shocking. They've penned an open letter praising Georgia's Democratic Senators John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock for their votes in support of a series of resolutions disapproving the sales of some arms systems to the Israeli government. Look at that. Hasan, bring up only the most biased article ever, only to read the headline piker. I love that I'm currently in the process. It is simply just, an article, okay? That's just what this is, okay? And I'm currently in the process of reading it, but you're so fucking delusional that you can't even capture what is happening in front of your eyes. What? Fucking annoying. What is happening? The letter, which I have posted in full below, is signed by people involved in Jewish community life across metro Atlanta area, from synagogues to Jewish day schools to the Anti-Defamation League. It thanks the senators for their courage in voting the way they did, concluding that their votes help promote regional stability and peace. It comes days after around 50 Jewish organizations signed a letter organized by the Jewish Federation of Greater Atlanta and backed by some powerful American Israel Affairs public. What? Hold on. I'm trying to do something. Oh, okay. Dueling letters demonstrate an important debate within the local Jewish community that reflects broader national trends. For decades, the image of Jewish America was one of a monolith. Politicians treated the Jewish community as if it was united in support of unconditional military aid and diplomatic support for the Israeli government, no matter who was running it and no matter what policies it pursued. But in recent years, it has become clear that the Jewish community is no more monolith than any other one. No shit. Rabbi Mike Rothbaum with Israeli Maoz Inon, whose parents were killed during the October 7th attack. The signatories this week's letter and other Jewish Georgians opposed to the Federation letter made clear to me in interviews that they see no contradiction between supporting Israel and limiting the flow of some offensive weapons to its government to help bring about an end to the conflict. Rabbi Mike Rothbaum, yeah, but make no mistake, by the way, this doesn't mean that these are card-carrying anti-Zionists, okay? That doesn't mean that at all. And that doesn't mean that for John Ossoff either. But the idea that all of these American Jewish institutions that are so predisposed, so openly with defending Israel so unconditionally is reflective of the broader attitude of American Jews is wrong. Okay? It's wrong. It's ridiculous. It's like the woke version of dual loyalty tropes. Anyway, even though Israel's claiming that they have beat Hezbollah, they're just lying. But then what happens when the Lebanese military tries to take control of Hezbollah-controlled territory? I don't know what will happen internally in Lebanon, and I do hope that there is no like civil war 2.0. You know what I mean? Probably not though, but we'll see. I'll talk more about Lebanon in a second. Oh, I gotta sneeze. Claudia Scheinbaum is saying a bunch of woke stuff, and that is exciting as always. We'll be covering that as well. But let's get back to the Lebanese ceasefire and where we're at with the Lebanese ceasefire, okay? Starting first with
security correspondent Frank Gardner, who is there for us, I think. Frank Gardner, can you just bring us up to date on the latest from the Israeli Prime Minister and exactly what he was saying in that address? He spoke like he was recommending a ceasefire deal and said that he would be putting it to his cabinet.
Yeah, you could be forgiven, Ben, for thinking that this is pretty opaque and confusing. And believe me, I've been struggling to understand, has the Security Cabinet approved this thing or not? And the answer is that he has recommended it, it's expected to be approved, and he will present it tomorrow to the full Cabinet, and it's expected to pass. But can I give you a definitive answer that it has definitely, absolutely passed the Security Cabinet? I have not seen that in writing. But then again, I've been stuck in the studio. So I think the signs are that Israel is proving or about to fully approve within the coming hours this ceasefire deal. There is enormous momentum here from the United States. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has spent part of the last hour endorsing the reasons why this deal should go ahead. He's been recounting all the ways in which Israel has degraded the military capabilities of its enemies, both in Gaza, in Yemen, in Lebanon, in Iran, and Iraq and Syria. And he said that the Hezbollah, which attacked us from October the 8th onwards, his words, is not the same as the force it is today. Now, all of that, I think, is going to come as little consolation to those people in the north of Israel who have been saying they don't think Hezbollah has been sufficiently degraded, despite the enormous airstrikes that we have seen in the last 24 hours going into Beirut and in the days before that, with a lot of civilians killed there. Despite all of the damage to Lebanon, there are people in the north of this country and Itamar Ben-Gvir, the security minister, who have said that they want to see this war prosecuted further and longer. But anyhow, it doesn't look like they're going to get their way. It looks like the ceasefire deal is going to go ahead, which is 60 days, a kind of trial 60 days, 2 months, during which the Israeli army will withdraw in stages from Lebanon, from the south of Lebanon, where it's been active. Hezbollah will withdraw north of the Litani River, 30 kilometers north of the Lebanon border, and the security vacuum will be backfilled by a bolstered Lebanese National Army and troops from UNIFIL, that's the United Nations interim force in Lebanon. But critically for Israel, the reason why I think he's been able to pass this, to get this deal through the Security Cabinet, or at least get their backing for it, even if they haven't actually physically signed off on it yet. The reason that Israel's been
yes, this is an earlier coverage from an hour ago, but it just got signed.
Comfortable with this is because it reserves the right to go back into Lebanon with presumably airstrikes or ground forces if it detects that there is an imminent military threat from Hezbollah. That was something that was a sticking point, but they've managed to get that past people on the Lebanon side of it. So it looks like the deal is going ahead.
Tonight, I will bring before the cabinet a plan for a ceasefire in Lebanon. The duration of the ceasefire depends on what happens in Lebanon. We have an understanding with the United States. We are maintaining our full liberty to take military operations. If Hezbollah tries to attack us, if it arms itself, if it rebuilds infrastructure next to the borders, we will attack them. If they launch missiles, if they dig tunnels, we will attack. Yes, I can hear people saying that if we start a ceasefire, we will not be able to attack, we will not be able to resume the war. Let me remind you, this is exactly what people said to me when we entered into the ceasefire in Gaza, in which we released our hostages. People said we would not resume fighting, but we did. And how? People say to me, well, Hezbollah will lay low for a year or two, will rearm itself, and then it will attack us. But Hezbollah will commit a breach of the agreement not only when they fire at us, but even when they try to rearm themselves. For any such breach, we will react very forcefully. I know there are those who don't believe we will do that, but many didn't believe that we would enter with ground forces into Gaza, and we did. People didn't believe that we'll enter into Shifa and Khan Yunis, and we did. People didn't believe that, faced with immense international pressure, we would enter into Rafah and the Philadelphia corridor. Not only did we enter these places, we attacked them. And how? There were many people who...
I mean, he's bragging about it. He's trying to reassure Israelis who still want more blood. Don't worry, we will go back if they do anything. Yeah. He's trying to make the most of the situation, you know? Israeli media really hated this speech, by the way. Yeah, I don't think you guys understand. There is a lot of appetite, I think, in Israel for just endless violence, okay? It is what it is. CNN is covering it live right now. Let's hear what they have to say. No, they're talking about Trump tariffs.
Will be passed on to you. Which products maybe hit the hardest?
We're gonna be doing
expected to be the busiest day for air traffic of the Thanksgiving.
We're doing tariff coverage in a little bit.
Who didn't believe that we would ever attack in Lebanon, and we attacked there too. We attacked there very forcefully in a huge sophistication that took everybody in the world by surprise. After all of that, maybe we should start believing in our determination, in our commitment to obtaining victory.
In Lebanon today, there was talk of a ceasefire, yet the sound was still of war. As the Israeli Security Cabinet met to discuss an agreement to end the fighting, the Israeli Defense Forces launched a massive wave of strikes right across Lebanon. With more than 10 dead and the dust still settling, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called on his cabinet to approve the ceasefire deal. Speaking this evening, he said Israel had set Hezbollah back decades and that a ceasefire now means they can focus on the Iranian threat. There had been a marked ratcheting up in attacks in recent days, with more than 30 killed in Lebanon from Israeli strikes on Monday. And yet this could be the last of the devastation and destruction, at least for now, and at least in this pocket of the Middle East. Hezbollah began firing into Israel following Hamas's attack of October the 7th and Israel's subsequent assault of Gaza, a show of solidarity among the two Iran-backed groups. The tit-for-tat exchange of missiles lasted nearly a year and led to around 60,000 Israeli citizens having to leave their homes in the north. It was this that Israel gave as its reason for escalating. In September, they assassinated Hezbollah's leader Hassan Nasrallah in a massive strike in Beirut, and days later launched a ground invasion of southern Lebanon. Israel says it's now killed more than 2,000 members of Hezbollah, but the war has displaced 1.2 million Lebanese citizens, and the death toll stands at more than 3,700, many of them civilians. Now, after 13 months, a deal. Reports suggest that the ceasefire is roughly based on UN Security Council Resolution 1701, which brought to an end the last conflict between Israel and Hezbollah in 2006. The first stage of the agreement will see the withdrawal of all Israeli forces from southern Lebanon within 60 days. At the same time, Hezbollah will pull back its armed presence north of the Litani River. That's about 16 miles from the Israel-Lebanon border. The Lebanese army, along with existing UN peacekeepers, will then provide security in the buffer zone, with the US chairing a 5-country committee to monitor any infringements of the agreement. The US has also agreed to give Israel a letter of assurance that they will retain the freedom to strike Hezbollah if it poses a threat. Something vital in trying to sell this ceasefire deal to those displaced by the conflict. Most of them have spent months living in hotels like here in Haifa, and they do not believe the threat of Hezbollah has gone.
We don't feel safe, and if we finish now, it will, the weapon will stay there for the future Hezbollah people.
This is southern Lebanon today. Israel's assault has left a wasteland where once there were villages. For Netanyahu, he has successfully ravaged Hezbollah's military capabilities and killed its top leaders. But at what cost to the Lebanese people stuck in the middle, with any ceasefire potentially just a pause in a Cold War always on the edge of heating up? And what of the source of this war? Gaza, where fresh rubble lies atop more than a year's worth of constant bombardment. Talks of a ceasefire here are long forgotten, and yet the need for an end to the war is as great as the desperate clamour for food in Khan Yunis.
Well, joining me now from Beirut is Lebanese MP and former Deputy Prime Minister Hassan Hasbani. Thanks so much for coming back on the program, Mr. Hasbani.
Trump posted Kai on his IG. Wait, what? Kai Cenat has been posted on Donald Trump's official IG doing the Trump dance? Wait, what? He wasn't even doing, was he even doing the Trump dance? That's crazy. That's crazy. I don't think that's the Trump. Trump can't even move his hips like that. Yeah, I don't believe that.
Barney, apparently the bombing is still going on in Lebanon, perhaps even in Beirut. How does it feel to be bombed into a ceasefire?
Yeah, this is basically a ceasefire under fire. These are the last hours before any potential declaration in the early hours of the morning, tomorrow morning, of an agreement. This is pretty much an agreement predominantly between Hezbollah and Israel, also covered by parts of the Lebanese government under a certain process and sponsored by the US and various other countries, hopefully that it would lead to a more permanent solution later on.
Right. So it gives you some breathing space. Is it enough to allow Lebanon, with all its incredible economic difficulties, to rebuild, to become a viable state again?
Well, the ceasefire for 2 months is more of a trial period to ensure the implementation of UN Resolution 1701 practically, and this is basically what it practically is all about. Definitely, as we've been hearing on the Lebanese side from the displaced people, as well as on the Israeli side, that people are still a bit cautious about returning home, about going back to normal life until this becomes a permanent situation. So it's a very fragile ceasefire given the conditions that have been put in place. But nevertheless, it's a practical implementation of UN Resolution 1701 that was effectively voted on almost 18 years ago after the Israeli war in 2006.
Hezbollah has been severely weakened by the Israeli onslaught of recent months. Do you welcome the fact that Hezbollah has been put into a box?
Well, we were actually hoping, and we called for, as the opposition parties in Lebanon, for a peaceful implementation of UN resolutions, particularly 1701 and 1559, that called for the withdrawal from the south of the Litani River, dismantling the military capabilities and the handover of weapons to the legitimate and sovereign Lebanese armed forces to be all under the Lebanese government, sovereign government umbrella. Yet these calls were never met. Today, unfortunately, they had to be done in such difficult circumstances with such huge losses to the Lebanese people, the Lebanese economy. Right. And we're going back to something that was agreed upon back in 2006. So at least let's hope that something positive will come out of this, with all the unfortunate losses of lives and property and economic losses as well.
And finally and briefly, you are going to live under the constant potential threat of Israeli bombardment should Hezbollah...
All right, let's get the drop side news. Breaking. Israel's security cabinet agrees to ceasefire deal with Lebanon. Hezbollah excluded from negotiations. This is from 1048, a couple hours ago. The framework agreed, Lebanon said, is not a ceasefire, but a cessation of hostilities. There are no terms about Hezbollah disarming. Israeli drones are still buzzing in Beirut skies, where Israel is carrying out heavy bombardments. See Drop News' timeline. That also is like the buildup to a ceasefire in general. That's a part of how Israel operates. Is a part of how Hezbollah operates as well. Leading up to the final moment of ceasefire, there's going to be heavy bombardment. Okay. At least 10 people were killed in massive attacks in the Dahiyya district earlier today. Prime Minister Netanyahu, addressing the press now, says Israel maintains the right to attack militarily. We will respond forcefully to any breach of the agreement. Israel also wanted a term implemented in the ceasefire proposal where they could just legally enter Lebanon whenever they saw fit. And Hezbollah was like, no, that's not going to happen. So tonight will be the final night where, Elent News is correct. Both sides will try to score as many victories as possible, likely with large airstrikes and rocket fire. For Israel, this usually means, striking and killing as many civilians as possible. For Hezbollah, it will probably mean northern Israel be struck pretty aggressively, but I assume they'll also try to hit like military bases again. So we'll see. Deputy Chairman of Hezbollah Political Council, we must scrutinize the points Netanyahu agreed to before signing the government tomorrow. Hezbollah official adds, we doubt Netanyahu's commitment and will not allow him to pass a trap in the agreement. Since then, obviously, the ceasefire deal has been signed.
Provoke
with,
them at a
I
moment
think,
of
Itamar Ben-Gvir being the only naysayer of the agreement, right? Is he the only one? Yeah, only Ynet says only Ben-Gvir objected. The cabinet finally approved the agreement. Report the ceasefire will begin at 4 a.m. So yeah. Is it weird that Israel's enemies are always attacking military bases when Israel bombs apartment buildings? No, it's not that weird. Honestly, it's just when you have a limited amount of retaliatory, when you have a much more limited inventory of weapons, like, yeah, you would probably want to undermine the military more than you would want to just like kill random civilians. Killing random civilians is what you do when you're either incredibly desperate and engaging in an act of terror as a final moment of desperation to incur penalties, to create penalties for the sovereign state when you're a non-state actor, or when you are the state actor and you can do that because you have an endless amount of weapons. If you're somewhere in between a state actor and a non-state actor like Hezbollah is, with arms within civil governance that simultaneously operates as like the de facto standing military of Lebanon in many instances, then you have an obligation where, with a limited amount of arsenal, much better than Hamas's capabilities, of course, but you have a finite opportunity, a window of time, and a window of permissible targets that you can go after. This is something that I've mentioned before with respect to Hamas's, bathtub rockets they fucking lob into Israel. People will always be like, well, they're indiscriminately firing into Israel. It's like, yeah, if you give them targeting systems, I'm sure that they would utilize those. They would utilize the targeting capabilities if they had them on Israeli military bases, because those are the people that are killing Palestinians directly. So that is the reality. A senior Hezbollah official told Al Jazeera that Netanyahu cannot be trusted and they need to review the actual terms of the proposal deal. Israel is continuing to pound Lebanon with heavy strikes. Netanyahu, in his remarks tonight, reiterated that Israel reserves the right to attack Lebanon even after a deal is signed. Just because the Israeli cabinet approves something doesn't mean it's done. And both Israel and the U.S. have pushed blatantly false information in the past. Lebanon's Al-Manar TV, deputy head of Hezbollah. So we shall see. We shall see what happens. But I don't know. I don't know if there is. There was a mistranslation in the quote. There's a news circulating quoting Hezbollah MP Hassan Fadlallah, stating that the document released to the public is different from the real one. This is not accurate. What he said was that the document that arrived at Lebanon was different, as in changed, to the one that left Lebanon to the occupation entity, meaning Lebanon changed the conditions they did not agree to, not that a wrong document was leaked. Yeah. I'm from Haifa. We've had 2 alerts so far this evening, but honestly, I'm having a hard time taking this threat seriously, staying safe and all. I think that in the interim period leading up to this ceasefire, there will be heavy bombing back and forth, both in Beirut, in Lebanon, like Israeli bombing, and also in different parts of Israel as well. Benjamin Netanyahu just tweeted this from his personal account. Trump, Congress looking to put suffocating sanctions on kangaroo ICC over Netanyahu arrest warrant. Nice, man. Congratulations. The thing is, a lot of people in Israel, including the opposition leaders to Benjamin Netanyahu, don't want the pummeling to stop in Lebanon. there is not a lot of appetite for a ceasefire in Lebanon. There is, I would dare I say, there is more appetite to stop bombing Gaza from at least the hostage families that want to, in the interim period, have a release of the hostages. And they also understand that the only way to get that done is with a cessation of hostilities in Gaza. So, like, there are more people that want to, at the very least, like, limit and maybe even secure a ceasefire deal and simultaneously a release of the hostages than there are people who want to stop the bombing campaign in Lebanon. So it's this very weird predicament where it's this very weird situation where I think that there are, Netanyahu is doing something that is like maybe considered somewhat unpopular, which is even aesthetically leaning towards a ceasefire in Lebanon. What do you even say to the people who've been screaming to the void, getting arrested, brutalized for criticizing Israel? How do we not give up? How is it expected to keep fighting? I mean, just remember what you're fighting for. What do you mean? There are very real people, families being ripped apart, babies being shredded by American munitions. They don't have the comfort of being able to give up. So we have to do whatever we can to continue the fight. You know, that's it. I think if you're a petty person, there is a unique motivation for every single person. If you're like a particularly petty person, remember, like, it in times of like nihilistic sentiment seeping in, remember that that is what defenders of Israel want you to do, is to give up, to feel powerless, and to feel like there is no hope, that you should just simply give up and forget about the Palestinian population. You should simply give up and forget about the Lebanese people that have been killed. What is this? Hasan, make this happen, bro. What the fuck is this? Right? Was just starting to get good. I would love to have Hasan on Spawn on me to dig some more. What is Spawn on me? I don't know what this is. That's the other. Here's the other thing. Okay. All right. Just chat. Just fucking. Can we focus on commentary for a second? Jesus Christ. You guys are all over the fucking place. Okay. Calm down. We'll look at all this shit in a brief moment. All right. Fuck. Anyway, another way that this works is like the steady pressure applied by pro-Israeli groups that spend a great deal of time doxing and harassing and viciously smearing anyone and everyone who is even remotely critical of Israel. You can't give in. These institutions are ultimately powerless. Okay? You are united and powerful because you have the numbers. Okay? You have the numbers. People have the capacity to recognize right from wrong. Okay? It's not, they don't have the same motion that they once did in terms of institutional prominence, legitimacy. These organizations, like, dude, I'm telling you, 5 years ago, if a Stop Anti-Semitism style org came out, on the Fox News article that came out 5 years ago, the Hasan is promoting terrorism article, if that had come out 5 fucking years ago, okay, my career will be over. Okay, I wouldn't be getting a positive news hit from CNN a week after that, where I get to address some of the comments that were, some of the smears that were made towards me. Like, you need to understand this, okay? And this is my own personal experience, so it's a little bit different than the average person who does not have the same, like, way to launch defenses against any sort of bad faith smears. But, like, think about how these smears destroyed Jeremy Corbyn only a couple years prior versus now. Okay? NMP caught you. You trying too hard to win Just Chatting Streamer of the Year, buddy. Let it go. Oh, it's because I did a progress update pic. Post that pic on IG. What the fuck you doing, bro? Yeah. This is me on the left. This is me on the left in 2021. 285 pounds, barely could fucking stand up for 15 minutes. I would literally start panting. And this is me from this morning on the right, feeling myself a little bit. The briefs are wet because I had just played basketball. Still a long ways to go, but what's it feel like to go from that to getting gooned on every day? I think people were gooning on me here too, to be fair. Yeah, gay Twitter wants you fat again. Yeah. My friend was broadcasting her phone from the bathroom. That's insane. I just posted this. How is that even possible? What is this, bro? The reply? Eden Ross got a bigger bulge? Yeah, I don't know about that, man, but that's kind of weird. That's kind of a weird thing to say about another man's meat, you know? Yeah, bro said, hold up, let me check Aiden's meat real quick and compare and contrast. Also, I don't even believe what he's saying, but that's fine. Why were you so fit at 285 pounds? I was not. What are you talking about? This is not fit at all. How does this even look remotely fit to you? Look at my belly. What the hell? That's a wild statement. Wait, sure, I'll post this on IG too. Fuck it, why not? Why won't you face others in the marketplace at dongs? You right. I'm too scared. I'm too scared, chat, to face others in that marketplace, you know? Yeah, I covered the Romanian situation yesterday for chatters who are wondering, you know, but I'll talk about it more. I'm sure there are chatters who would kill to be as slim as you are in your before photo. Yes, I'm sure. I understand that. Make no mistake. I get it. Anyway, I'm 285 and I wish I looked even half as good, but you do have 7 inches on me and I'm not a dude law. I had to pull over so I could check out. Holy shit. Oh my God. What's the goal from here? Anything leaner as content pre/photo shoot levels? No, I gotta go a little bit leaner and then I'll start gaining again. Hold on, I'm posting it on my Instagram. Okay. Also need to start sunning those thighs. How do I start losing weight? I'm fat and lazy. Work out. We're gonna talk about Drake's legal action in a second. Hold up. All right, we're done with Meat Watch. I think that these progress pics are also reflective of the progression of your mental health. Oh yeah, absolutely. It has dramatically changed it has dramatically improved my mental health, like in very, very significant ways. Okay. Sakura Gora, thank you for the 10 community gifted subs. Was your back pain fixed from improving back strength? Yes. I did a lot of complementary workouts to ensure that my back was no longer in pain after working out and stuff like that. Anyway, did you cover Biden's ceasefire announcement? Came late. Sorry, bub. Yeah, what do you think we're covering right now? All right, we'll continue.
Hezbollah tries something on again, as the Prime Minister said just a few minutes ago. How does that feel? I mean, as a former Deputy Prime Minister, as a member of the Parliament, how does it feel to have that constant Israeli threat hanging over you?
Well, this has always been the case to a large extent, except that the bombardment hasn't happened so frequently. It used to happen, violations of airspace have happened most of the time in the past, and many times in the past. But definitely, this is an issue with the sovereignty of the country. We were hoping, as a sovereign state, would actually be able to implement UN resolutions so that it would retain its sovereignty. The sovereignty was breached by the existence of Hezbollah and the support of Iran militarily to Hezbollah for many, many years as well on Lebanese territory. And so was the Israeli overflights and interference every now and then. So if this period is only a temporary period to ensure that the agreement stands, this would eventually lead to a withdrawal of the Israelis and a more permanent solution. And let's hope we will get to that eventually.
Hassan Hasbani, thank you very much indeed. Well, I'm now joined by Miri Aysin, who is a retired colonel from the Israeli Defense Force. She worked with Prime Minister Ehud Olmert during the last Lebanon war and is now a fellow at the International Institute for Counterterrorism. Thank you very much to you, Miri Aysin, for coming back on our program. Let me start, first of all, with this. Do you think the Israeli government agreed to this ceasefire because they were running out of ammunition, as the Prime Minister indicated today, or because the Americans were putting pressure on them?
I don't think that the two actually contradict, and I'll add in that nobody here wants a war, Matt. This isn't about something that we want it to go on forever. It's a question of what you can continue to achieve, both against Hezbollah inside Lebanon right now, without, at the end, really completely destroying this country called Lebanon that hosts them. And listening to Mr. Hasanabi before, it's really that challenge of Hezbollah being in Lebanon. They are Lebanese, they are Arabic, they speak Arabic, and so for us, it's not about Lebanon, it's about Allah and what you can achieve.
But the Prime Minister, Netanyahu, that is, also just said that they will now focus more again on Hamas and also on Iran. What does that mean, do you think, focusing on Iran?
The Prime Minister has been very consistent, Prime Minister Netanyahu. I'll even say from 2009, he's been our Prime Minister for many years, in focusing on Iran. And in its own way, it's as if that the Hamas attack on October 7th, that part of the reason, just part of the reason for the failure, is because the Prime Minister was looking at Iran and did not see Hamas. But I say that right now, that at the end, Iran itself, as a country, 90 million strong.
She went, she's so used to hitting that every time she talks about like Israel's enemies. She's like, you have to say, on.
Backing Hezbollah, backing the Houthi, attacking Israel twice directly, and their quest for the nuclear bomb is very scary. So I'm all for focusing on that. Having said that, we still have what's called the Gaza front, the Hamas front, and 101 hostages that are still in the Gaza Strip.
Just a couple of things. I mean, it's interesting watching Mr. Netanyahu wear his red tie tonight, which he doesn't normally wear. I wonder if he's channeling Donald Trump there. Does he believe that Trump will give him an opportunity, to attack Iran on a wider scale and perhaps cause regime change there?
I don't think that Israel has the capability to do regime change. And I would say in that sense, there's a difference between targeting the nuclear facilities, because those nuclear facilities don't threaten Israel, Matt, they threaten the world. Nobody wants Iran to be nuclear. But there is a difference between that and regime change. I do think that this Prime Minister feels that he will have an easier conversation with President Trump. I don't know if that's right, but I think that the Prime Minister thinks.
Of course, the Americans hope that this will now pave the way for some kind of ceasefire in Gaza. 44,000 people have been killed in Gaza, most of them civilians. It's been a terrible tragedy for Gaza, but also it's isolated Israel more than you might have imagined a year ago. Isn't it time for the right pressure to be put on Netanyahu to end this Gaza thing and try and come up with some sort of solution for the Palestinians and rebuild?
I wish it was as easy as that. You do realize that on October 8th, or for that matter, yesterday or today, all Hamas have to do is give back 101 hostages.
That's so crazy because they have suggested that since October 10, and there's only one party that has refused to negotiate and has time and time again disrupted the ceasefire negotiations. Interesting that that party is not being mentioned here. The party that also simply has all of the cards. They have all the power. Interesting. Strange.
Hostages, and it's done. That this is about Hamas attacking us, taking the hostages, doing horrific things, building themselves inside the civilian community. I'm not saying it's an easy, simple one. I do think that we have to find a resolution. I don't think anybody should be using right now the terms of peace. I think that that's a challenging one right now. But yes, to arrive at an end to this overt, horrific fighting.
Miri Eisen, thank you very much.
Yeah, we later found out that Hamas had offered on October 9 or 10th to release all civilian hostages in exchange for the IDF not entering the Strip, but the government rejected the offer. This is what's so interesting and so striking about news reporting coming out of Israel. Times of Israel is not like an anti-Israeli institution, okay? They're just simply reporting on things truthfully, more truthfully than American mainstream media or Western mainstream media is reporting on it. The idea that it's actually Hamas that is refusing to broker peace or a ceasefire in this circumstance is completely fucking nonsensical. But of course, there's a good deal of pre-existing biases that many people have. Pre-existing biases that many people have that cause people to just look at the situation and take for granted what America's foreign ally is saying against America's foreign adversaries that are non-state actors. That is the issue here. I was talking to a friend of mine who said that any reasonable party in the position of Hamas would have agreed to an unconditional surrender and removal from governance with the amount of people dying and in crisis. Do you think Gazans would not agree to some sort of conditional surrender if they could? Is Hamas not in a position where total surrender is a much better outcome than to keep fighting? This is not in the hands of Hamas at this point. It has always been in the hands of Israel. The notion that while Israel, guys, do you not understand what's going on? Israel has destroyed all semblance of normal life in the Gaza Strip. They are permanently annexing North Gaza right now as we speak. They are conducting a fucking genocide. What makes you think that the people that are right now defending themselves against this genocidal force are currently in the wrong? Like, this is not October 7th, okay? We're not talking about October 7th. We're talking about an October 7 style situation occurring on a daily, if not a weekly basis for the last year. Okay. It's so crazy. They've already started the partitioning process. The notion that the guys that are fighting back in the process of this ethnic cleansing campaign are in the wrong and they need to stand down with no fucking, with no guarantee whatsoever that Israel is going to actually not complete its genocidal project is so ridiculous. So you would say that Israel would not agree to laying down arms, full surrender, and release of the hostages? I also believe the cards are in the hands of Israel, but our understanding of a full surrender is not possible. No, why would it be possible? Israel killed the civil governance faction's principal negotiator in Tehran. Dudes that Ismail Haniyeh is not a part of the militant faction within Hamas. He is responsible for the civil governance. He was also the principal negotiator, and Israel fucking executed him alongside, hundreds of thousands of civilians. We don't even know the full number of the casualties at this point. They've destroyed virtually every single building in the Gaza Strip, and they're doing the final solution to the Palestinians right now, especially in North Gaza. What makes you think that there is going to be anything that stops them from doing so? It's ridiculous. Israel is not a rational actor in this process. That much is clear. They have not shown that they are rational actors, and instead they've only shown that they respond to military pressure, as in when they engage in a war of attrition, they've shown time and time again that their economy surrenders and then their forces incur too many penalties, and that's the only time where they back down. Look at all of the other look at all of the other places where there has been some kind of civil negotiation. Look to the West Bank if you want to understand what it looks like when your civil governance division that is supposed to represent the interests of the civilians living there, when they become a de facto part of the Israeli security apparatus. The Palestinian Authority comes to mind. The Palestinian Authority is the second most unpopular entity in the region in the eyes of the Palestinian population. And there's a good reason for that. Yeah. Meanwhile, you have this, IDF is gearing up to remain in Gaza until the end of 2025 at least. This is what it looks like. And they're gearing up to partition Gaza and resettle Gaza. So I don't know how people just don't understand that. They hold all the cards in this process. The idea that Israel, the Israeli government, actually cares about what happens to the hostages is also a laughable notion. They do not care. If they cared about what happens to the Israeli hostages, they wouldn't be killing the Israeli hostages with their endless bombing campaigns. What are we talking about? How many hostages have they killed so far? The idea that oh, dude, if they stand down, if Hamas stands down, Israel will stop is ridiculous. They're going to say they have to settle to protect the border communities. They have to occupy to protect the settlements, etc. It's vile. Yeah. Israel does not package its offensive military actions by simply stating what it is. Okay. Israel is never going to be like, we're settling Gaza because it's our God-given land and it's our right to have it. And these Arabs are barbaric and they should leave. Some people in the cabinet will say it, like Itamar Ben-Gvir or Bezalel Smotrich. But by and large, there is a lot of propaganda that makes it seem like this is a necessity. And that propaganda is, and this is the same thing I described to you about like all politicians, specifically Republicans. People are always shocked when they're like, well, you know, they say they want to make America healthy, and I believe them. And it's like, yeah, of course they're going to say they want to make America healthy. They're not going to say we want to destroy the FDA so that we can deregulate your fucking food supply. Why would they say that? Republicans are not going to run around and be like, we want to melt the poor. We want to kill homeless people. They're not going to say we want to make life significantly worse for poor people because we are directly in the pocket of big corporations that we deregulate the economy over at their behest. Like, they're not going to say that. Okay. They're going to find a way. They're going to find a way to, you know, propagandize their position and their policies. Okay. And it's the same principle for the Israeli government as well. Israeli government, in the way that, especially in the way that they frame this kind of stuff to the Western world, will never say like, oh, we have to settle this land because it's our land. God gave us this land. Okay. Even though, like I said, there are rabid ultra-Zionists within the security cabinet, within the governing faction that will say those things. But especially when it comes to like Western media, in their Western media focus approach, they're always going to say, we have security concerns. They are going to repackage their colonial interests under the auspices of valid security concerns. Israel has a right to defend itself is exactly that. Okay? When people say Israel has a right to defend itself, that's what they're talking about. This is it.
Video shows Israeli rollers, bulldozers, and trucks paving a new...
If Hamas conceded, it would be over. What deal are they expecting at this point? Wait, what? What the fuck? Tell me what Hamas wants to do. How do you justify that? Any terrorist organization that acts that way would get the same reaction. It would end if Hamas concedes. Hamas can't represent the people of Gaza. Yeah, okay, big dog. Okay, I'm going to unban this person. Hamas is but a name, okay? Hamas is the current evolution of Palestinian resistance. You might not like their methods, okay? I've certainly been critical, but that doesn't change the reality. You are outflanking members of the Israeli cabinet, the Israeli war coalition, that have also come to that same fucking conclusion, like you're a goddamn bibist, despite the fact that you will probably be exactly the type of person that says, oh, I hate Benjamin Netanyahu. How dare you say that? Okay? The idea that like Hamas is a unique entity is silly. Okay, you kill everyone in Hamas. Now you have Hamas too. How do you think Hamas started? How do you think Hamas became the governing faction and the governing coalition in Gaza? If you don't understand the history of it, and if you refuse to understand that, like, of course people are going to fight back against constant oppression and constant death and destruction and constant violations of their human rights, yeah, people are going to fucking try to fight themselves out of that corner, especially when they realize that there is no negotiating. That is the last 30 years of the so-called peace process and the analysis that the Palestinian population has succumbed to. That is what they recognize. Do you understand?
Road along the Gaza-Egypt border. They're building a new buffer zone known as the Philadelphia Corridor, and the Israelis are there to stay. Here is what it looks like during the day. New realities on the ground are being designed, realities that hint at Israel's endgame for Gaza. Zooming out, we can see Israel building road networks all across the Gaza Strip, with some being kilometers wide, including a buffer zone around the edges of the enclave. These will be fortified with checkpoints, watchtowers, bases, and other surveillance tools. Using these strategic corridors, the Israeli army will be able to monitor any point in Gaza without necessarily occupying the entire territory. The idea is that in post-war Gaza, whenever Hamas fighters surface from underground and prepare to fire rockets, the Israelis would detect them in no more than a few minutes and launch a counterstrike. The Israeli leadership believes these corridors would make further Hamas transgressions improbable in the long term, or at least decrease the damage.
Yeah, splitting one concentration camp to 3.
They can inflict. The Palestinian civilian population would be able to return, though they would reside within smaller chunks of territory, each disconnected from the other. Conflict is like that. The hand that wins gets to draw the map. Meanwhile, a second front has gone hot in the north. Israeli forces have entered Lebanese territory, and Iran responded by firing missiles at Israel. The battle space is expanding. However, while all eyes are elsewhere, the Israeli master plan for Gaza is going ahead at full speed. I genuinely believe that seeing all sides is paramount at times like this, which is why I asked Ground News to sponsor this video. Following Iran's missile attack on Israel, some 600 articles were published worldwide. And while I appreciate that I can see perspectives from on the ground in Iran and Israel itself, at the same time, Sinwar's right hand, Rawi Mushtaha, is now confirmed to have been killed in an airstrike, along with other key Hamas officials. One by one, Israel is taking out the existing Hamas leadership. Just a few dozen articles were published on this, and it appears to be a blind spot for left-wing media. With everything that is going on in Lebanon and around the world, a story as—
I'm doing ethical reacts, man. What do you want me to do? Is Ground News trustworthy? I think they use their metrics for left, center, right, and like their media biases from that fucking Koch brothers funded stupid ass report that put me as like worse than Alex Jones. So I don't know how credible they are, but overall, I mean, I don't really get dinged on these platforms anyway, but I assume it's decent otherwise, maybe. I don't know.
As important as this will simply drown in the background noise. So I appreciate that Ground News surfaces these kinds of stories.
Yeah, I think they say CNN is as far left as InfoWars, right? Like the list is really fucked up. Worse than Alex Jones, where's the lies? Yes, I am worse than Alex Jones. Look, I'm gonna be honest with you, brother. If you at any point have entertained that, wait, hold on. Doors open. If you at any point have thought that I am even remotely similar in my commentary to someone who was sued for billions of dollars for routinely and serially harassing the families and victims of a mass shooting by claiming it's not real, you have to really reorganize your priorities and maybe take a deep breath and wonder what communities you're a part of that cause you to believe this. Okay? Because I fear that they are leading you astray. Your beliefs in communities are wild, though. Yeah, I know. Anti-genocide, a wild belief. Free healthcare for everyone in America unconditionally, a wild belief. Free college, a wild belief. Okay? Ethical migration patterns, a wild belief. A cessation of American imperialism so that we can, we can focus more on rebuilding our communities and fixing our infrastructure rather than doing bloody warfare overseas, a wild belief. No one can actually point to a singular thing that I say that is that out of pocket. They can only simply entertain this notion. They can only simply vaguely gesture to things and be like, no, you just love terrorists and you're an anti-Semite, If you consider any number of different things that I say to be wild, you really need to reconsider your priorities. Yeah. I believe in gun control, women having bodily autonomy. These are not wild beliefs. You should probably reconsider what led you to think these are wild beliefs. You should probably re-examine why you think those are wild beliefs. Okay? Since becoming a longtime member of this community, I've become an active community organizer that's currently helping to try to keep schools open, but sure, we're a wild community, I know. Now, fear not, we will still fight for you, regardless of what your personal worldview is, okay? I mean, both you and Alex Jones suck for different reasons. Please elaborate why me and Alex Jones are even in the same conversation and why we suck for different reasons. fuck it, cut straight to the point. What is the disagreement that you have with me? I suspect that the disagreements that you have with me are primarily because you have not really spent a whole lot of time in this community, but instead have been primed into feeling a certain type of way about my commentary from, you know, random clips that you've seen here and there. It's probably what it is. He'll never chat again. No, he'll chat. I think he'll chat now. This chatter was just on Twitter hating under your pores with a Sam Hyde and D meme ban. I think most people who think you were like Alex Jones are from Destiny's community. Diddy G? Yeah, I know. Our news might apply different methodologies, by the way, than just simply that one. But yeah, it is wild that people will just like simply say this shit and they will never. Isn't this a super LARPy channel? What, the channel that we're watching? I'm not really familiar with the Caspian Report. I think they're just like, they're like the rest of the geopolitics YouTubers.
/Caspian to learn more or scan the QR code on the screen. Subscribing gets you 40% off the Vantage plan. That's the one I use. Also, by subscribing, you're directly supporting my channel. While our missions align, YouTube revenues alone don't cover the expenses to make these videos. So I especially value our continued partnership and encourage you to check it out. The link is below.
Hassan, this was genuinely a bad take.
No lube, nope. Israel and Hamas are battling in the open while navigating a political minefield behind closed doors. Much of the negotiations converge around the configurations of Israeli buffer zones within Gaza in the form of extrajudicial corridors. Netanyahu is adamant about 2, but a third one is already under construction and 2 more are in the pipeline. Using these corridors, Israel will have the means to permanently dictate life in Gaza while giving its troops the flexibility to deploy quickly throughout the enclave. One of the primary sticking points in the negotiations so far has been the Philadelphia corridor, specifically who will control it. Measuring roughly 14 kilometers in length and 100 meters in width, the corridor bisects Gaza's Rafah municipality and Egypt's Sinai region. It runs from the Mediterranean Sea to the Kerem Shalom crossing, which is the meeting point of Gaza, Egypt, and Israel. The corridor also includes the Rafah crossing, the only transit point between Egypt and Gaza. However, this crossing has been opened and closed repeatedly throughout the years, depending on the security circumstances. Under the 1979 agreement, Israel was allowed to deploy limited armed forces in the corridor, but no more than 4 infantry battalions, including the appropriate military infrastructure. However, Israel was not allowed to deploy tanks, artillery, or anti-aircraft missiles. So the operation of the Philadelphia corridor was coordinated mainly by Egypt, and this arrangement formed a fundamental component of the Israeli-Egyptian peace treaty. In 2005, Israel withdrew its army from Gaza as part of a disengagement plan. This exit included a withdrawal from the Philadelphia corridor, as well as the withdrawal of about 9,000 Israeli settlers living in 25 illegal settlements in Gaza. Egypt then assumed full responsibility over the Philadelphia corridor, and the Palestinian Authority was later brought into the mission. Shortly after, a second legal agreement was signed between Egypt and Israel, allowing the former to deploy 750 border guards to patrol the corridor for counterterrorism and non-military purposes. Egypt's responsibility expanded, and it was now tasked with preventing smuggling and infiltration. 2 years later, in 2007, Hamas took complete control of the Gaza Strip and removed the Palestinian Authority from the region. Israel responded by enacting a land, air, and sea blockade of the Gaza Strip. Nobody was getting in or out without Israeli say. Egypt, meanwhile, would intermittently open the Rafah crossing during that time. Stuck in between Egypt and Israel, Hamas opted for a new strategy. It started building tunnels between Gaza and Egypt's Sinai. This underground infrastructure was used for smuggling goods and weapons, but the scale was enormous. Between 2011 and 2015, Egyptian forces destroyed more than 2,000 of these Hamas tunnels, and these were only the passages that were detected. Using these tunnels, Hamas created new realities on the ground. The Rafah crossing was no longer the sole entry and exit point to Gaza. More importantly, neither Egypt nor Israel exercised any control over the tunnels. Netanyahu and his cabinet have identified the Philadelphia corridor and the Hamas tunnels running underneath as the single weakest link in the chain surrounding Gaza. So, when the current hostilities started, Israel took back control of the corridor in May 2024. It is now insisting on maintaining a presence there in order to prevent Hamas from replenishing its lost resources. Netanyahu's cabinet argues that without Israeli control over the Philadelphia corridor, Hamas will rearm and build up its military force and infrastructure in a few years. This then will turn Gaza into a long-term security liability for the state of Israel. Hamas...
Yeah, I mean, this is like, so far, this has been, dare I say, a little biased in the direction of Israel.
Sees it differently. Its negotiators demand that all Israeli forces be pulled from the corridor and that the area return to Hamas control as part of a lasting ceasefire. Egypt, too, is not happy about the continued Israeli presence in the corridor. The Egyptians argued that permanent, large-scale Israeli military presence in the area would violate the 1979 peace treaty. Technically, they make a valid point. The Philadelphia corridor has been a buffer zone between Egypt and Israel for more than 4 decades. It has been maintained through 2 bilateral agreements between Egyptian and Israeli diplomats. Various compromises have been floated since May, including the withdrawal of most Israeli forces in exchange for the installation of Israeli watchtowers along the borderline. However, Egypt has rejected the proposal.
How is it biased? Genuinely asking? Yeah, constantly framing the Israeli incursions in security agreements, or rather like security methods, including implementing this like incredible blockade over the Gaza Strip after withdrawing its military in 2005 under the auspices of a valid security concern, is basically the same repackaged propaganda that says Israel has a right to defend itself. That's all it is. Like, that's all it is. Like, it's and of course it's something that you hear all the time. It's something that it's the only thing that you hear from most mainstream outlets. So it's always shocking to hear it from independent media as well, but I don't know. Like, this video is supposed to be Israel's endgame for Gaza, but so far it's describing every action that Israel's taken within a biased framework, not really considering like what the situation looks like for Palestinians across the board and like how we got here. It's a little bit disappointing, but
while Israel can't just return the situation to what it was before the current hostilities, the Israelis feel that they need to ensure the security of their border communities, and so they're going about it unilaterally by paving the entire...
Yeah, you don't understand. The potential security threat of Hamas is more important than the occupation and the genocide of the Palestinian people. Israel's defense trumps all. Who gives a fuck about the Palestinians' defense? Yeah. If Palestine has a right to defend itself, then so does Israel. It is not propaganda. It is the truth. Yeah, if Israel actually cared about Israeli defense, though, and Israeli security, they wouldn't be maintaining a fucking apartheid. The fuck? Yeah, there would already be a singular, solitary, secular state, okay, where Palestinians and Israelis, in the way that they currently exist, could have equal rights, equal civil liberties. But that is a non-starter for many people who defend Israel, I assume yourself included. And you will say, how can we be around these barbaric rapist monsters? We can't. That's the issue. And it always goes back to the same first principles. You do not see Palestinians as normal human beings, just like you, with ambitions, with goals, with dreams, but instead a hive mind of barbaric anti-Semites who want to do mass rapes and shit. Also, yes, Israel doesn't have a right to defend itself under international law because they are a belligerent occupier of the Palestinian people. So thank you, Jay Mershon, for mentioning that. That is also true. Israel quite literally does not have a right to occupy the West Bank illegally, and it certainly does not have a right to, once again, bomb belligerently the entirety of the Gaza Strip in the interest of defending itself. It does not have that international right. As a matter of fact, Hamas, post-October 7, Hamas does have an international right to engage in self-defense as a spontaneous militia. So that's the other side of the equation as well. If we are just simply looking at real international rights, like what it actually says in the books, the reality of the matter is Hamas and any number of different Palestinians have the right to defend themselves against a ethnic cleansing campaign conducted by a belligerent occupier. Israel, on the other hand, does not have that right. Israel is violating the international rights of the Palestinian people. So that's what's really interesting about this equation. Really interesting about the asymmetry of violence that you're experiencing, that you're watching unfold in front of your eyes, that you're trying to desperately defend. The irony here is that Israel is in direct contravention of international law. And that's precisely the reason why there is an ICJ court case launched by the South African government against the Israeli government for conducting a genocide, and also the ICC court case simultaneously against those who are the top genocidaires. Saying Israel has a right to defend itself against the Palestinians is as ridiculous as saying Russia has a right to defend itself against Ukraine, and that's why they had to invade Ukraine. It's even worse than that, because at least Russia, with the exception of Crimea under international standards, would not even be considered a belligerent occupier until now. Now they are a belligerent occupier of Ukraine. So on that front, it would be akin to Russia permanently annexing parts of Ukraine that they have overtaken so far, and then bombing the shit out of that in the counterinsurgency campaign that they run when the Ukrainians inevitably go back to understandably fighting against their Russian occupiers a couple years down the line. I don't see what the problem is. I've been informed by experts. First of all, this is literally not even Kyiv. This is Lebanon. This warfare analysis post is photos from Lebanon. I don't see what the problem is. I've been informed by experts in international law that this means whatever happens next is the fault of the civilians and nothing that can happen is wrong. Yeah, here's Francesca Albany speaking on exactly this, okay? UN Special Rapporteur for the occupied Palestinian territories.
Defense can be invoked when a state is threatened by another state.
This you can technically say Israel can invoke this against Iran, for example, and vice versa. Iran can invoke this against Israel. Okay?
Which is not the case. Israel has not claimed that that has been threatened by another state. It's been threatened by an armed group. Qualify it the way you want, but it's an armed group within the occupied territory. And frankly, even saying the war between Gaza and Israel is wrong, because Gaza is not a standalone entity, it's part of the occupied territory. But so, in particular, Israel cannot claim the right of self-defense against a threat that emanates from the territory it occupies, from a territory that is kept under belligerent occupation.
No, I don't want to see her on Piers Morgan, okay? I'm sorry, guys. That's ridiculous. You're like, hey, this brilliant voice of truth in a sea of madness, how about we put her in the Shark Tank? Okay, strapped and strap her with a bunch of like bloody meats onto her body, and then let's watch that process. It's like, no, I would rather see her in very different settings than fucking the clown show of Piers Morgan. It's crazy.
Of the corridor.
Cry Morrison, cease Twitch, cease Hasan, Cry Morrison. What? Does it seem like I'm crying? Are you okay? Are you experiencing a psychological breakdown? What's happening? Are you all right? Yeah, dude's having an episode in the chat. I hope you're all right, man.
Essentially, Israel now calls the shots in the Philadelphia corridor. Israel's endgame for Gaza is to dismantle Hamas's presence and ensure that no buildup can ever happen again. Controlling the Philadelphia corridor is essential to that plan, but there is more to it. Further north sits the Netzarim corridor. It was established as a result of the current hostilities. Measuring about 6 kilometers in length and 2 kilometers in width, the Netzarim corridor stretches from the Israeli boundary to the Mediterranean Sea. It also bisects Gaza City from the rest of the Strip. The name itself, Netzarim, is a hint towards the future. Netzarim was one of the illegal Israeli settlements that existed in the Gaza Strip before the Israeli withdrawal in 2005. So the reintroduction of the name hints the Israelis might consider renewing efforts at constructing new settlements in Gaza. Some high-ranking Israeli ministers, such as Ben-Gvir, have suggested as much. The Netzarim corridor hosts at least 5 forward military bases that are used to monitor and control the movement of people between northern and southern Gaza. The construction of these outposts and the extensive land clearing nearby suggest that Israeli boots on the ground are to be permanent. So even after the current hostilities subside and Palestinian civilians return to their homes, or what's left of them, Israel will have the ability to control life in Gaza without needing to occupy the area entirely. Netanyahu has already declared that under a truce agreement, Israel would not withdraw from the Philadelphia and Netzarim corridors, including the Rafah crossing. Palestinian diplomats reject such buffer zones in both corridors and argue that Netanyahu added these negotiating points to derail the ceasefire talks.
Yeah, I mean, there's I'm done with this. I'm done with this. I'm done with this. There's no positive end in sight. But let's hear what Mark Warner had to say.
Much of the price.
And amen. And that is why I think it is both from a humanitarian standpoint to bring this to a ceasefire, but also in Israel's long term, the more you strike and take out Lebanese civilians that were not members of Hezbollah, you create the potential, which is also the problem why we need to get to a resolution in Gaza. You cannot destroy every terrorist if you're continuing to kill innocent civilians. And the potential to actually have a greater support for a terrorist type organization that would go beyond the Shia base in Lebanon to include Sunni, Druze, Christians even potentially was quite great. So I think that is diminished. But again, these next 60 days to maintain that truce is critically important. And I hope, again, this will increase the pressure on the remnants of the Hamas leadership. They've taken out Sinwar, the main leader, but the remnants of Hamas leadership to go ahead and move towards a hostage exchange and a ceasefire as well is critically important at this moment.
Yeah, lots more to come for this ceasefire to get up and running and actually stay effective. Senator Mark Warner, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Alex.
Coming up, how President-elect Trump's proposal tariffs on Mexico, Canada, and China could spark a trade war and impact your finances. Plus, a new window into Kamala Harris's campaign.
Oh my God. Okay. SpeedX Hassan went. I'd love that. I don't know how contenty it is, but Pod Save America interviewed the people responsible for Kamala Harris, and it's apparently maddening. Yeah.
Welcome to Pod Save America. I'm Dan Pfeiffer.
By the way, speaking of which, I will be fucking hosting Pod Save America tomorrow. So it's actually good to see this conversation take place. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Yeah, a lot is going on, okay? A lot is going on in the Hasanabi universe, and I just often forget. Mark Warner wanted the band's theme for being too anti-Semitic. That's funny. In person, Haas Save America tomorrow. I listened to it this morning, and they get progressively angrier.
We have a special show for you today. I am here in Washington, D.C., where I'm about to sit down.
the main show chat.
With the leadership of the Harris-Walz campaign for their first interview about what happened in the election. Last week, Michael Tyler, who's the communications director for the campaign, called me. Thanks for that.
Yeah, the president was really ending. He knew
going into election day. And
Jen O'Malley Dillon,
consultant on all of it. Thank you for doing this. Very much appreciate you having this conversation with us here on Pod Save America. Just a level set, Jen, and I'll start with you. How did you feel going into election day? And at what point did you have a sense that things were beginning to break Trump's way? Was there a county result, something about the turnout? Like, was there a moment when you sort of understood that how it was going to end?
Well, the truth is that we really thought this was a very close race. We talked about the entire time we saw it as a margin of error race, almost the entire time the vice president was in the race. And we knew we had to have strong turnout on election day. We saw early vote really ending strong for us and saw, the types of voters we wanted to see turn out. But, we expected this to be close. We also expected that Florida was going to come in a bit redder. Virginia, we knew was tracking to being, that we were going to be ahead, but that we would be ahead by less than we were in 2020. So we were expecting to see that when we saw that. We also did anticipate that the night would go relatively long because some of these states would take longer to come in. But I think it was, really after polls closed, there was nothing that we saw throughout the day. There was nothing that we saw that told us there was overwhelming turnout or anything out of complete expectations on Trump's side. But it really took us into the hours of, polls closed.
Comments, an entire team talking over 90 minutes and not one good answer to a single question. This is actually worse than I thought. Actually, we did really, really good. It was like super hard. The long and short of it is none of these people should ever run a national campaign again. The Obama era is over. Let me save you 90 minutes. They learn nothing. It's like listening to corporate marketing department. They don't actually get customer/votes. There's such a huge disconnect. Save America is in a unique intersection because they are directly tapped into Democratic establishment. They were a part of the Democratic establishment under the Obama era, and they have immediate access to the people that run these campaigns. But they are an independent media operation, which means they get comments, which means that their audience is not directly MSNBC watchers. Okay? Sort by new on your video, they're pouring honey on you? What do you mean? Which video? Oh, the older video that I did with Pod Save America from before the election?
Welcome to Pod Save.
Wait, I do want to see that actually. Is it here? Or did they post it somewhere else? This might be the official one. What is this? Do you remember the Garbage Day Internet Culture newsletter? Just remembered he said you should be the token leftist on Pod Save, lol. Mega popular Twitch streamer. Hasan Park is probably close to the Rogan figure we have on our list. He's masculine, he's funny, he's tapped into video culture, he's aggressively left-wing, but he might be too political to capture the mainstream like Rogan has. More importantly, Piker's a streamer. Rogan has a podcast. You can download it on any app and listen to it on the way. Live streaming will never be as accessible. Maybe the Pod Save guy should hire him and let him yell at them for the next 4 years, lol. That's funny. Oh, here.
Winning those voters.
Dude, if you go back and watch this video, it is so different. Bro was spitting straight facts and no one in the Democratic Party was listening. Hasan is right. I'm a Democrat at 41. The campaign is making me sad. They keep moving right. Dude fucking nailed what happened this week. They're pouring honey on the goat because I was right. Have Sam Hyde on to talk about what's happening. He's very erudite. I have my disagreements with Hasan, but he was right about the bro vote. Aged like fine wine. Hasan was right. Aged very well, Hasan. Sounds like Hasan was right. Trump won the Gen Z vote. They should have had this dude in their campaign. All his criticisms that were even before the election turned out to be the exact reasons why the Dems lost the election. Vindicated once again. Permanently. Hasan is a literal terrorist sympathizer, had a Houthi terrorist on a show and was laughing with him, laughing at videos of hostages being taken, contributing to chat on October 7th podcast saying they deserved it. Calling Israeli babies settler babies. He had a terrorist on a show and told them we support you. Stop normalizing this. We need a Rogan, but entirely different except for aesthetic. Yeah. This is why, while it is incredibly self-serving for me to tell every liberal person that I'm the Joe Rogan of the left because they're desperately looking for one and then they should give me billions of dollars so that I can be the Joe Rogan of the left. I still have to be honest and say that you can't podcast your way out of this issue. Would you appreciate the chance of doing something with Ezra Klein again? Yeah, I reached back out to Ezra. So Ezra's team and I had long conversations, which was right before Kamala Harris became the nominee. We had a long conversation with Ezra about the manosphere. Ironically enough, you know what my take is. You know what I've said. I've said this on the Pod Save America interview as well. This was even months prior to that. But then Kamala Harris got swapped, the candidate, so they dumped that episode that we were going to do together. But I was supposed to be on, no, I didn't ghost them. I was supposed to be on the New York Times pod with Ezra Klein. And I was very excited for it too. It's just that it didn't end up happening because obviously a lot more world-shaking events occurred. And, that's neither here nor there, but we might do some in the future. If you want to feel good about a pathetic loser that was presented as knowledgeable about, he's talking about getting owned. My God, how can you possibly debate on stream with this little background knowledge? Just the secondhand cringe is unbearable. Bad empanada, totally embarrassed loner box here. Had to beg on his knees to be taught. Wait, what?
Just to withdraw support from Israel. To start actually denouncing it rather than just announcing it, every now and again. Oh, shit, is Israel killed a journalist? We are very concerned with the human rights, whatever, blah, 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 blah. That's nowhere near good enough. That's not, that's nothing, right? You can be like,
I'm just gonna ask,
yeah, okay, then you're not listening at all. You're just going to ask, if you're just going to ask me the same question, you're not going to adapt it. You're not going to think about what I'm saying. Then it's obvious.
Well, it's because you don't have it's because you don't have an answer. It's because you know that getting a nuclear power to abolish itself is not going to happen.
Are you aware that's literally happened?
How?
The USSR.
Okay.
South Africa.
Right.
Like, did you think that was a gotcha?
I'm still asking you how you expect Israel to do it. How do you expect Israel to do it?
Like, what do you mean, how do you expect Israel to do it?
Wait, in the same process that took place for South Africa. South Africa is the best method. Like, South Africa is the method. It's the movement. It's BDS. It's the same movement.
You think they're gonna, Israel is gonna be the same as it is now and they're gonna go down bombing everyone?
I mean, given that they're kind of run by religious fanatics, probably. Yeah.
They're not actually run by quote unquote religious fanatics. A lot of them are secular fanatics.
Okay.
But South Africa was run by the same sorts of racial fanatics. International pressure brought down apartheid. Now a black government is in power. Why can't we do the same thing here?
Did South Africa have... I actually know this. You can tell me. I thought South Africa ended its nuclear program in 1989.
South Africa ended... No, Yeah, they ended the nuclear program before allowing black people the right to vote for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But the fact is, they didn't go down launching nukes as you were sort of implying they would there. So there's
also what kind of argument is this to be like yeah, they'll just nuke the world. We just have to keep letting Israel do apartheid shit. I mean, he's Googling it live, but like regardless, checking the Wikipedia page to figure out when the South African nuclear disarmament occurred doesn't change the dynamic at all. It also doesn't make sense. Like the argument doesn't make sense. Like, oh, what? Like the Samson option exists, so I guess like we just have to let Israel do whatever the fuck it wants. Like, what do you mean? Wait, what's the obvious reason? What do you mean? Yeah, they didn't want black people to have. They didn't want a country that was no longer an apartheid that could possibly be run by black people to have nukes. The only countries that are outside, the only countries that are run by, black and brown people that are allowed to have a nuclear program or nukes in general are either ones that have escaped the throes of Western colonial violence and become a hegemonic power like themselves, or a hegemonic power in their own right, China, or countries that are still directly controlled by the United States' State Department interests, like Pakistan. Pakistan actually is a really interesting example of this case because currently there is a tremendous amount of violence unfolding by the military that runs the country that is directly in the pocket of the United States of America. The only brown and black countries that are allowed to have nukes are only allowed to have nukes as long as they are good servants of U.S. empire. DPRK is a hegemonic power? Fuck yeah, baby. That's what I'm talking. Yes. That's what I'm talking about. Jucha. It's real. It's here. It's happening. They got motion. They're sending troops to Ukraine. It's so stupid to say this, but yes, countries that have developed their own nuclear programs outside of the orbit of influence of the Western superpowers. And think about how long that has taken. Think about how long that has taken to even get to that point. We still don't know if they fucking have nukes. Why doesn't Saudi Arabia have nukes? Don't worry. It's coming. I don't know if you guys heard. Just, watch this space, okay? That's all I'm going to say. I can't say what I've said about my criticisms of offering Saudi Arabia a nuclear program, because when I say those things, then Fox News clips it and acts like I'm in favor of Saudi Arabia getting nukes or whatever. But
South Africa was run by the same sorts of racial fanatics. International pressure brought down apartheid. Now a black government is in power. Why can't we do the same thing here?
Did South Africa have... I actually know this. You can tell me. I thought South Africa ended its nuclear program in 1989.
South Africa ended... No, yeah, they ended the nuclear program before allowing black people the right to vote for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But the fact is, they didn't go down launching nukes as you were sort of implying they would there. So there's an example. There's examples of international pressure, right? South Africa went from like massive support across like the EU. Well, the US held that until the end, but across like most of the most powerful countries in the world over the course of like 20, 30 years to essentially being bullied into giving up power.
So we probably have
why can't that happen in Israel?
We have to disarm Israel probably before getting...
I understand black and brown, but which of the countries that you just listed are run by black people? What do you mean? South Africa is the country that is now run by black people that was, that disarmed its, that ended its nuclear program, disarmed themselves.
We didn't disarm South Africa.
Well, they ended their
They
weapon
agreed
program.
to end apartheid.
Okay.
They ended the weapon program during the end of the white supremacy. Just to withdraw.
This says North Korea does have nukes. I don't know about that. Everyone always says North Korea and Iran have nukes, but maybe. I still have the Hasanabi doctrine to guide the nation building meme picture. If you don't have nukes, get them. Refuse to give up the nukes if asked. Yeah. For as long as I've been around, everyone has always said that Iran is on the verge of getting a nuke. Iran is on the verge of getting a nuke, and North Korea seemingly has tested their nukes, but that's give every global South nation a Metal Gear. Yeah. UK, Canada, France torpedoed the UN nuke watch group being allowed inside Iranian facilities recently. Anyway, I don't know what the fuck we're watching loaner box.
Closing for us to know for sure that
When
things
we
were
should
not
be watching the Democratic Party.
tightening. They were tight, but they weren't tightening in the direction we needed them to be.
And is that just because Trump's turnout was so high?
Well, honestly, I think it's a little bit mixed. I mean, we saw certainly Trump turnout high in early vote. We really believe that to be mode shifting, and that's what I think it was. I think we also saw turnout was as expected in rural areas. Like, we didn't see anything that said, you know, like maybe we saw in 16 or even in 20 that he had more turnout than we had anticipated. And our analytics really was quite close, much closer than it had been in 20 and in 16. But I do think we saw some lighter turnout in some of the areas we had hoped, but difference of a point here or there, which obviously in a close race makes a huge difference. And then I think we saw a little bit of a drop in support in a few areas for us. So that ultimately, I think, is why we weren't able to close the gap. It wasn't so much that what we were seeing in the battlegrounds was out of expectation or that he had some hidden turnout we hadn't picked up on.
David, when you say it was a margin of error race, you needed high turnout, what did your polls tell you where the race was heading into Election Day?
Well, Dan, you and I talked prior to the election, and just to rewind, I think when Kamala Harris became the nominee, she was behind. We kind of, climbed back.
Yeah, this is the craziest part of this is that the new information, where the fuck is it, that shows that the Kamala Harris internal numbers also never showed that she was beating Trump. It is a bit of a shocker, for the record. This is actually a shocker. Harris campaign aide saying that internal polling never had her ahead of Trump is a shocker. Why is it a shocker? Because they didn't even change their campaign strategy. And they acted like they were fucking throwing up LeBron numbers, dude. It's crazy. Like, they were throwing on purpose. Like, what the fuck was going on? I saw the list. Funny list, but good mention for you, G. I saw. It's a great list. It's not a funny list. I like the list, the complex list. I'm number 5. I'm very honored to be amongst, some of the best in the game. Yeah. Kamala Harris's internal numbers showing that they were doomed from the jump is fucking nuts. It's nuts, especially when they were like, yeah, shit's looking bad. And then we just got to keep moving right.
And even post-debate, we still had ourselves down, in the battleground states, but very close. And so I think by the end, it was a jump ball race. And I think we needed some things to break our way. Maybe Trump's election day turnout would underperform. Our election day turnout would, either be at level or overperform. And, we'd win more of the people who decided in the last 3 or 4 days. I think our data and the New York Times data and other public data suggested we did have some progress with undecideds at late October. So it was a dead heat race. But, at the end of the day, the political atmosphere was pretty brutal. And that's not an excuse. You had right track, wrong track, I think 28-72, about 70% of the country saying they were angry and dissatisfied.
Yeah, and we saw that. We saw that, just like I constantly mentioned. Remember, this was a thing that I mentioned all the fucking time. The campaign was like, we got to move directly move towards Joe Biden, but then only try to outflank him by going more to the right. We saw and did nothing. We saw and sometimes even did worse than nothing. We saw that, and we did the worst possible thing you could do.
You had Trump's approval rating on his first term, frustratingly high, 48-51, depending on the state. Obviously, the incumbent president's approval rating around 38-41, depending on the state. And, I think the economy and inflation still driving a lot of votes. So I think given that we had a challenging political environment, the fact that we got the race to dead heat was positive, but boy, it was slow moving. And I think we were focused on 7 states. That's our windshield into the world, the battleground states. But, what we saw on election day was, New Jersey and California and Connecticut and New York, massive shifts. So I think where Kamala Harris campaigned, we were able to keep the tide down a little bit, but it ended up being a pretty strong, tailwind for Donald Trump. And I think it's worth reminding everybody, we saw in 22, even though that was a pretty decent Democratic year, we saw these shifts. We saw them in 20, we saw them in 16. Trump specifically, but Republicans generally.
Please, man, be honest. The biggest mistake Harris made was saying the only difference between Biden, she would have 1 Republican in the government. She should have said 2. You're right. You're right. Americans obviously were like, actually, how about all Republican members of the cabinet? That's what they voted for. And that's the only method to win. That's the only way that we can win. We have to become Republicans. We just have to be Republican. We are the real Republican Party. Please vote for us. Why is nobody voting for us? Yes.
improving their vote share amongst non-college voters, particularly non-college voters of color. And this was a surprising race because Kamala Harris actually did, I think, better with senior voters than I think a lot of people would have thought. So margin of error race where we inherited a deficit, we got it to even, but the thing never moved. So to Jen's point, I think we were hopeful. I don't know how optimistic we were, but we thought, okay, this is tied. And if a couple things break our way, and listen, I'm naive in this way. I just thought at the end of the day, particularly because Trump did not close well, I thought Kamala Harris closed well. Trump was reminding people some of the things they don't like about him, that might give us what we needed. But at the end of the day, I think the political atmosphere, the desire for change, all those fundamentals that you've spent a lot of time talking about really presented huge challenges for us. So, we got there, but we didn't get the breaks we needed on election day.
How deep was the hole that she had to climb out of?
Well, Jen, I mean, I think, listen, there was the Biden-Trump 1.0, which is obviously pretty catastrophic in terms of where the race stood. When we got in, my recollection is some of that snapped back, but, we were behind. I mean, I think it surprised people because there was these public polls that came out in late September, early October, showing us with leads that we never saw. I mean, it was just basically a race that in the battlegrounds was 46-47, 47-48. So that's not where we started. We started behind. She was able to climb out. I think even after the debate, we might have gained, 0.51. It wasn't a race that moved a lot. And so I think when you think about our own internal analytics, if you have Wisconsin at 47-47, or Pennsylvania 48-47 Trump, let's say, which I think is where we had it at the end, you've got to have undecided to break your way more than your opponents, and you've got to get a little benefit from turnout, which we weren't able to do.
Obviously, the defining event of this race was the candidate switch, and every decision you guys had to make, everything you had to do was defined also by the compressed calendar in which you were operating in. Quentin, you were there when that switch happened. How were you able, there was a 1 month period between the debate and when the president actually dropped out. Obviously, it seemed like dropping out could be a possibility. Were you able to do any thinking or planning in that 1 month period about what a race with the vice president would look like? Or did you have to sort of start cold on that first day, the moment you got the call or the statement went out?
I mean, we started cold. There was no planning involved in any other candidates. I mean, we were honestly in crisis management mode of keeping President Biden in the race, convincing, Democratic allies that he could still do this. And one of the things was trying to keep the president out on the road as much. We were still doing everything we could from a campaign, and he made the decision that he did not want to continue on. And he pulled some of the senior leadership together and said that he was going to be with the vice president. It also wasn't anything that our team took for granted to just say, okay, she is the nominee. We knew that there was still a situation where we had to shore up delegates, and that's where we started from. And then after that point, that is when we began to say, okay, how can we define her? Also, Trump's favorability numbers were creeping up, as Pluff said, and we had to do something about that as well. And so it was a lot of walking and chewing gum at the same time, but there really was no sort of contingency planning to turn the race over to her right after that debate or at any point until President Biden definitively said he wasn't going to continue on.
If I ran this campaign, I'd never show my face again. Why are they admitting this? Because they're going to get rehired. That's why. What do you mean? They've literally, these people, maybe not so much, but people who were attached to the campaign as consultants have been non-stop going on CNN and all of these other outlets to talk about how it was trans people that cost them the victory over and over again. They only get to be shameless. They only get to be shameless because people let them. Okay? That's it. The Democratic Party consistently entertains and also elevates losers, okay? Because their goals overall is to maintain the status quo. That's it. God forbid, God fucking forbid that they disrupt the status quo. Did you just say it's literally people who are running the campaign saying that? These are the people who are responsible for the campaign, yes. But other consultants that have also been that have played a formative role in the campaign have been endlessly going on CNN and defending their positions by saying we did everything right and the voters were either too stupid to recognize it, which is, something that is if you say that out loud as a campaign person, like consultant, you should be fired permanently, or saying that it's because we were just like too pro-trans or too Latinx adjacent. There is a real crisis of talent in, I think, the Democratic Party, and it is it's kind of like police. There's a culture of it is a culture of hiring and elevating losers over and over again.
Stephanie, I think what probably surprised a lot of people in politics was the vice president was a largely unknown quantity to much of the electorate. So you guys, under a very short time frame, had to do two things, as Quinn said. You had to teach people about her and also make a case against Donald Trump, who would just come off, he was at an all-time high, come off the assassination attempt, the debate against the president. In terms of messaging, how did you think about the balance between the two?
Well, the first thing we had to do is put on a convention, and we had about 3 weeks to flip a convention that was being built around Joe Biden. So,
which is why we didn't flip the. By the way, these are, ironically enough, every single person here, I'm pretty sure, is also or was also a Joe Biden campaign strategist. So that's the other part of this as well. Kamala Harris did not have her own staffers. She has had a lot of turnover on her end historically, even when she was vice president. So, oh yeah, with the exception of Pluff, most of the people here are, they were already on the Joe Biden campaign. So if you're wondering why, you know, they have this perspective, and if you're wondering why they might not even like shit on Joe Biden too much, that's the reason. Because that's the one like acceptable liberal take that I'm on board with, which is like if you blame Joe Biden, because there is truth to that. Okay. There is at least truth to blaming Joe Biden because he does share a significant amount of the blame, a significant amount of the responsibility, not dropping out, not gearing up for being a transitional candidate and propping up a VP pick that could have potentially won. Even Kamala Harris, if you wanted to do that with her, like he didn't do that at all. And not dropping out until the very last moment, until he was forced to do so. Like these are all massively consequential decisions that absolutely played a formative role in Kamala Harris's defeat. But the former Biden staffers are not going to fucking say that either, especially because they worked on that campaign too.
We were able to flip it, you know, to fit this very new character of a different generation, different experience, different background. And looking at the data at the time, which Jen and Pluff and Quentin have all talked about, she had a huge deficit in favorability because either people didn't know about her or what they did know about her was based off of negative media. So our first priority was to define her in that convention, fill in her bio. As part of that, you know, we already knew how to do the negative on Trump, and we knew that there was a lot of Trumpnesia out there. People didn't remember the 4 years of the Trump administration that badly because they had been through hell. They had been through COVID, both under his watch and under President Biden's. I'm putting aside a lot of the details of who's at fault and what Biden did to dig us out and all of that. And then they had to deal with inflation. So they had been through hell. So looking back, you know, you remember a previous time much more fondly because you've now think that you've gone through the worst. So we had to remind people what life was like. That was our second imperative. And then the third imperative as part of the convention and leading into the remaining days of the campaign is what's that choice? What are the two very different visions between Trump and Kamala Harris? So the convention, you know, it demonstrated a lot of enthusiasm for Kamala Harris, a lot of freshness, future-oriented, bringing a variety of coalitions together. We had independents, Republicans, Democrats, business leaders, sports figures.
What about the progressives? Independents, Republicans, Democrats, business leaders.
Everybody coming together around.
Oh, no mention of the progressives. Okay, that's, you know, maybe that's a problem. That like this does not factor into your equation at all. Perhaps that could be one of the major reasons why y'all fucked up.
A new way forward and finally turning the page. So, you know, through the rest of that campaign, our next thing was the debate just a few weeks later. And
I think it's really embarrassing to say we were trying to build a big tent with Republicans when Kamala Harris lost a greater share of Republican votes than Joe Biden did. With an objectively Joe Biden had an objectively more progressive campaign. Philly D calls out Hasan. What did he say?
Oh, wait. Speaking of Hasan, did you see this motherfucker? You see this fucking photo he posted on Twitter? I was like, dude.
Chill,
what if
bro.
I was in...
First of all, he posts photos too. You can't be calling me out, Phil. You're trying to fill people in. I see the thirst traps you post before going live, okay? He's doing the Hasanabi method.
My man.
He's doing the Hasanabi method. That's funny. Bro, that photo was so insane. I don't get it. What's insane about it? What is insane about it? Ray also called you out shameful.
You know? What the fuck?
What is it?
Guys, I just opened up Twitter and I just see Hasan cock.
Okay, it's you guys' fault. That's not the prominent fixture of this photo. That's not supposed to be the main emphasis.
What the fuck? What the? Wow! What the hell?
That's just simply a part of the photo. It made me pregnant. It's not like it's not supposed to be the most important part of the photo at all. It's supposed to not even be a part of the photo. It's just the afterthought. There's no other way to show my fucking legs. What do you want me to do? The photo is 30,000 likes in an hour. That is 2 hours. That's insane. Look, I almost have the indent. You can see. I saw the pig and had to have a cigarette. I had a girlfriend until you posted that. We just got a mortgage together. What do I do? You're leaning back so your schmeat can be more prominent. No, I'm flexing. You're on TV at my parents' house. So that you're flexing your cock and balls. Okay. This is why so many fucking incels hate me, dude. The shit that you guys are saying in here. But that gyno though, yeah, I got a little bit of dude, I don't know, man. I feel like my titties are tittied up. You're my litmus test for if I've gone full lesbian as of today. Def not. Chat, we out-meated Donovan Mitchell. What? My Hatsune Miku poster going down and you're replacing her? That's okay. Everybody calm down. Okay. All right. We're done with this. You have to see this reaction. No, I don't want to hit translate post on this. I'm clicking away. We're done. We're done. We're done. We're done. We're done. I think everyone's making a bigger deal of this than they should have been. Donovan Mitchell did a Skims photo shoot and people started meat watching. We're done with this. We're done with this. What is this text? Oh, is the Donovan Mitchell meet context? I mean, okay, that's not. I didn't out meet him, dude. Are you crazy? He's got meat for fucking days. That's wild. You like the Schmeat talk and you okay with it? You should watch this TikTok. He has your take on Kamala.
Politicians want to win over young people. I suggest they actually talk to one because they really think they can still get up there and pull that. I love small businesses. If you have a small business, I'll fight for you. We all eat cup noodles. You really think any of us have a small business? We have managers that we hate. That's what we have. If anyone my age tried to be like, yeah, I actually just started my own business. I'm now the CEO of my own company and I'm my own boss. That motherfucker's in an MLM. Ignore everything he says. He saves up.
Yeah. Meet Shadow. Okay, guys, do you want me to go back to the Democratic Party's failures in this last election cycle, or do you want to keep talking about Schmeat talk? Chad needs to chill the fuck out. You got brought up on an OTV podcast earlier.
Yeah. I was talking about that today on stream, how like when I'm scrolling on my TikTok For You page, I get a lot of girls that are like thirsting over Hasan. I'm like, it's just fucking crazy because he's just like in our circle. Yeah. And I get to see him and like I talk to him and he's always like, hey, you know, and I'm like, and this is the guy that you guys are tripping over this man.
Dude, the worst part about knowing Hasan is when I liked Fear Ann like TikTok because I went on their podcast and all of a sudden I got Hasan armpit fan cams on my TikTok and I was like, holy shit. I was like,
no.
Hold down the button and you're like, I do not like this or like not interested in this post. I was like doing it to all of those and they wouldn't go.
Okay, that's hater behavior. You should be liking those. Like that's crazy. Okay, my friends are my worst haters. Honestly, that's crazy to me because it's like, why would you hate on that? Why it's just like you should like it and support it. Like I don't understand.
Go away.
So you've got Jenna Ortega, Sydney Sweeney, Hasan Armpits.
Yeah.
Like that's your...
Dude, and then the other one was, I did a stuff with Vinny at the Ludwig Games, and all of a sudden, Vinny Hacker shirtless TikToks were coming out.
Okay, hold up. Let's see. Did she say she doesn't like the Vinny Hacker shirtless ones?
Bro, like I have met these people in person. Yes. It's so weird that this is like on my time. I need to get it off. So like, I'm like super fast scrolling, and every time I see like...
Oh, so she didn't hit the do not like on Vinny Hacker ones. To be fair, I get it. I understand. Heavier adults that push the plates. I'm not gonna lie, I tried to follow your political content on TikTok and it instantly became a Hasan thirst trap For You page. Yeah, I try to repost a lot of like the Hasanabi Clips Industrial Complex on TikTok that actually posts my takes from this stream. and there's like fantastic accounts on there. The problem is they absolutely get like they get no motion in comparison to the thirst trap TikToks. Like the thirst talk TikToks get like hundreds of thousands of likes, but the political take stuff unfortunately get a fraction of that.
Are you still just looking at it? So the core of the company is really solving those two things. How do we build something that's greater, which usually give people what they want by allowing them to discover, but then at the same time solve the monetization aspect. And so in podcast, you know, the whole industry has evolved quite a lot.
I feel like I need to stop eating pizza.
Sort of download to streaming.
I need to stop eating pizza.
Tools,
Bro, you're skinny as hell, bro. It's fine. You earned the pizza. What the fuck?
And obviously in video, it's totally different type of stacks. And we see that being a huge barrier.
When this dude hits me up, when I steal the Hasanabi or the Hasan method of thirst trapping to get people to come to a stream.
Put the pizza down and get your meat out.
This man will hit me up in DM. He's like, you killing it, champ. And this motherfucker just comes out like this. Yeah. Hasan needs to be banned off of Twitch. Not for anything he said.
No, Philip DeFranco is now on the ban Hasan train. Oh, we're cooked. We've lost another pillar. New hater unlocked.
Before that photo.
Oh no. We've lost the libs. He banned Hasan train, but he's valid. They say Icarus burned brightly before he went out, King. All right, let's continue.
It was boom, 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 all the way through probably early October after the Walls debate, that we had to move through these things so quickly. Once we got through all of that, then the race started to gel. And, to the extent people were open to remembering what life was like under Trump, we were trying to fill that in. To the extent people had questions about Kamala Harris, we were still trying to fill that in. So in 107 days, what typically takes us a year and a half, 2 years in a presidential campaign, we were defining someone who was wholly undefined from the start, trying to remind people about the opponent and what life was like underneath him, and also take into account what the political environment was and the realities that we had to deal with, which, she was the incumbent, but she really wasn't the incumbent. People didn't know that much about her. The economy was still slightly getting better, but we couldn't really take credit for it.
I like that the people tasked with defining a candidate that was not previously defined are talking about how they failed to do that, but in a way where they're not taking responsibility whatsoever and simply just going, yeah, we couldn't market this product. And it's like, dude, your job is to market the product. You're talking about your incompetence in marketing the product while saying, well, this is unmarketable.
Damn, this guy's good.